TreeTree.com, or you could text them for that free assessment, 203-248-TREE.
It sounds like duk.
It goes...
It's like a whistle?
No matter what noise your car is making, call Fairfield Motor Works, 203-333-1800. Specializing in Audi, BMW, Mercedes, and domestics, it's honest, reliable repairs at low prices. For the mechanic you can trust, call Fairfield Motor Works, 203-333-1800. So when your car goes ping or swoosh, call 203-333-1800. Fairfield Motor Works in Fairfield off exit 25. They keep you going. Fairfield Motor Works.
I'm Barbara from Trumbull, and I've used Steve Basso Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning since 2012 when he diagnosed the source of a carbon monoxide problem when no one else could. I use him for maintenance and emergency situations for that reason. He has always been able to fix any problem in my home. There's no one better than Steve Basso.
Looking for a reliable plumbing or HVAC company? Steve Basso Plumbing, Heating, and AC has proven customer satisfaction since 1974. Go to BassoPHAC.com. That's BassoPHAC.com.
This is WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
CBS News special report. Trump administration shakeup. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and his top deputy have been ousted. CBS's Jennifer Jacobs says this comes weeks after Waltz took responsibility for the Signal chat incident that revealed military plans to a reporter.
We reported a few weeks ago that some people had been pushed out of the National Security Council and others were supposed to have been ousted. There's been some discussions about that and some criticisms about that, but we just don't know exactly what the president's thinking is on this or why he is being pushed out today, but we do know that that decision has been made.
Well, CBS's Margaret Brennan says Waltz came to the job with deep experience.
Mike Waltz, a Green Beret who served in conservative White Houses in the past, who worked for Dick Cheney, who served in Congress, who was serving this country in uniform prior to that, also viewed as having stellar conservative credentials.
CBS News special report. I'm Steve Kathan.
For the latest news in Southern Connecticut, WICC is where you turn first on 600 AM and now 95.9 on FM. Hear your favorite live and local shows during the week. Melissa in the Morning, The Lisa Wexler Show, Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli on both 600 and 95.9. Plus more live and local news updates on weekends to keep you informed. You found the voice of Connecticut. WICC 600 and 95.9.
Imagine talking to thousands of local consumers about your business. You will with your ads on the Voice of Connecticut.
It all comes up to your sales rep. Here, Maria, my sales rep, try to understand my business, customize my need, and that make it different than any other experience that I have.
Real stories, real results. It's why advertising on the Voice of Connecticut works. Learn more. Email sales@voiceofct.com.
Introducing Cakes by Sonia, a scratch-made bakery in Stratford. Let owner and head baker Sonia turn your vision into a delicious, beautiful custom cake. Specializing in wedding, birthday, and anniversary cakes, a Cake by Sonia is like no other. Follow Cakes by Sonia on Instagram or come into the bakery at 2067 Barnum Ave in Stratford. For an amazing cake for your next event, it's Cakes by Sonia, 203-276-8880.
Your morning starts with a fresh cup of coffee and total peace of mind. Because with Property Protection Consulting, your home or office is secured and backed by a local company. From single camera setups to full-scale security, we customize your protection because we know how valuable your safety is. Whether you're protecting your livelihood or the ones that matter to you most. For a complimentary evaluation on your home or office, visit ppcalarms.com because real security starts with real protection.
Ready for a beautiful smile but worried about the price? Find out why Southern Connecticut chooses Downtown Dental for the best quality dental work at the lowest price guaranteed. Are you considering Invisalign or veneers? Go to downtowndentalct.com and schedule a consultation and personalized treatment plan. For Invisalign and veneers, get the best quality at the guaranteed lowest price. Call Downtown Dental with offices in Norwalk, Bridgeport, and West Haven. DowntownDentalCT.com.
Professor, how did you crack where these big prizes come from on the multiplier scratch tickets?
Greta and I had a lot of coffee.
We discovered the prizes jumped by 5, 20, 50, and even 100 times.
$200,000 in a single scratch.
Professor, so the big question, who solved it?
I did.
Play the new multiplier scratch tickets from the Connecticut Lottery. Multiply your wins and maybe enjoy your own eureka moment.
Overall odds by game: 5x, 1 in 4.25, 20x, 1 in 4.06, 50x, 1 in 3.72, 100x, 1 in 3.55. Must be 18 or older. Problem gambling helpline. Call 888-789-7777.
Sometimes the most important personal breakthroughs are made possible by medical ones. And that's why Smilo Cancer Hospital delivers the pioneering research of Yale Cancer Center, like targeted therapies based on your genetic makeup and groundbreaking clinical trials that offer hope when you need it most. All delivered by a multidisciplinary team dedicated to you and your specific type of cancer. Smilo Cancer Hospital and Yale Cancer Center. We're powering breakthroughs with the greatest of care.
Unlock the potential of your business with Constep, Connecticut's premier manufacturing consulting firm. For over 25 years, Constep has focused on growth opportunities and client success in a changing manufacturing world. Their expert team of trusted advisors offers tailored solutions combining technical know-how with workforce strategies for transformative results. To help your manufacturing company reach its full potential, visit constep.org and schedule a free consultation. That's CONNSTEP.org.
WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut. Weather update.
Sunny sky through this afternoon with a high in the mid-60s and a breeze shifting out of the southeast. Clouding over this evening. Showers arrive after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon. Milder with a high in the mid-70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
You're listening to The Download on WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut. Now, another in-depth interview with Lisa Wexler.
203-333-9422. We'll take some calls. Franny Block is with us, one of the best reporters for the Free Press, and that's saying something because they're all excellent. And Franny did a deep dive and has been speaking with the janitors who were assaulted when this group of pro-Palestinian people, some were students, some were not, broke into Hamilton Hall last year. Franny, can we follow the money for just a little bit? There was a story that was an aha moment. $19 billion, with a B, $19 billion coming from Arab countries to fund American universities in the last 10 years alone. That's to American universities that we know of. Who are paying for these print manuals of telling people how to break into buildings and move furniture around and do zip ties and prevent other people from being arrested? Where's the money coming from?
It's a great question, and it's one that so many different investigative reporters, I think, have spent the last 2 years trying to figure out. And the reality is that we don't actually know for sure. So unfortunately, that's not a very satisfying answer. But I do think that we're starting to get more and more clues. And I think this lawsuit is a big step in that. The People's Forum, I'd actually reported over a year ago now, is actually funded entirely. They've got $20 million in the bank. They're a Manhattan-based nonprofit with $20 million in the bank, funded primarily by a guy named Neville Roy Singham. This is a guy that actually lives in China and has documented ties to people within the CCP's propaganda apparatus. And he is as I say in my piece, a multimillionaire Marxist. He made a ton of money in the tech industry many years ago, and he's now using this money to fund organizations like the People's Forum. Now, Neville Roy Singham's wife is actually Jody Evans. She is the founder of Code Pink. So if you've seen a lot of these people in the White House interrupting different congressional briefings with kind of red paint all over their hands, going through the halls of Congress and trying to take videos of members of Congress. These are all members of Code Pink that are part of that organization. So we are starting to see kind of how this web comes to be. You also have groups like Students for Justice in Palestine, the national organization, which has been behind many of the different protests that we've seen on college campuses with their individual university chapters. They're funded by a group called Westpac that's based in Westchester. We don't know where Westpac is getting its money to then fund Students for Justice in Palestine. So we're starting to see how the web is emerging, but we don't have all the answers yet.
So, but part that we know, this Code Pink part, this People's Forum Part, $20 million in the bank, we know is part of a plan of ultra-left communists coming from China who want to undermine the American stability of democracy and undermine our thinking about our own way of life. That's very clear. Very clear. It's not just about hating Jews. Jews are always the scapegoat. We're always, but we are the canary in the coal mine. We are the tip of the iceberg for a free society. They don't want a free society.
Well, I think as Barry Weiss, who's the founder of the Free Press, has said so eloquently before, Jews are kind of the first targets when liberalism starts to fall. And I do think that we are finding ourselves in that moment where many of these protests, yes, there are anti-Semitic elements of these protests that are targeting Jews on campus, that are targeting people who are perceived to be supporting Jews on campus. But at their core, they're also very anti-American, anti-Western. And I do think we've seen an emergence of that on college campuses with these protests. And that is an aspect of them that really does concern me as somebody who, my job is tied to American principles of the First Amendment and liberalism, right? To see people attacking America as a country, but also as a concept, the West as a concept, our Western values as concepts, and saying that they are inferior and that they are inherently bad, that does raise a lot of concerns.
We have Rob from Meriden, I believe, who's holding patiently to ask a question. You're on the air with Franny Block, investigator for the Free Press. Rob, hello, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Lisa. Franny, I wanted to ask, on the subject of these quite shocking militancy manuals teaching our impressionable young students how to lock doors and move furniture, what do you have to say about the 92% of residential structures that were destroyed in Gaza, the deliberate targeting of hospitals and schools, the 50,000 dead Palestinians, over half of whom are children, and you're sitting here talking about these scared janitors as if they're somehow the victims here? Like, I got to say, kudos to these students. I hope they escalate their tactics. They're the only ones standing up against genocide. I want you to know that you, Franny, and you, Lisa, will be remembered in history as standing a genocidal apartheid regime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, Rob. Thank you for your thoughts on that. Franny, you want to take the first go at that? Or I'll be happy to.
Here's what I'll say. I think that the reality of what's going on in the Middle East right now is that every loss of an innocent life is a huge loss. It is something that we should all mourn. We should all take very seriously, that war is horrible and that any loss of life is something we should all grieve very seriously. I think when we're talking about what's happening right now in the United States, what's happening with these protests, I think there's something different from the advocacy portion of what students are trying to engage in difficult conversations about the ethics of war, the ethics of the war going on right now. There's a difference between that and what we're seeing in these protesters who are taking over buildings, who are harming innocent janitors who are just trying to do their jobs. And I think those are two very different things.
Okay, I think that's pretty an eloquent way of putting it. I also think that some of the statistics that, Rob, that you have said are not necessarily proven to be so, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that, yes, there's been an awful lot of carnage, an awful lot of destruction in Gaza as a result of Israel fighting very, very hard to try and tell its enemy to the south that what they did was so unacceptable that they can never do it again, to try and rout this Hamas terrorist government from ever being in power again, and that the costs of supporting or allowing or being an accomplice to or even being a victim of this kind of tyrannical regime are very, very high. And as a result, you have for the very first time Arabs in Gaza clamoring to get rid of Hamas, which they would likely not have done had Israel not tried to decisively defeat them in this conflict. But this conflict has been around for a very long time. What hasn't been around so long is associating every Jew who supports Israel with being an enemy. And that, to me, is the most troubling piece of what's going on in America right now, because Israel is and will always be the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. And to delegitimize that, to go into colleges like Harvard University for the last 10 years and make sure that there isn't one Middle East professor that teaches about Israel is part of a systemic effort to undermine the legitimacy and the existence of the Jewish people in the world. And that's what I have to say about that, Rob. But thank you for calling. So, Franny, where does your investigation go now? What are you working on now?
Great question. Well, actually, just after I published this story about the lawsuit filed by Mario and Lester, I also published another story about the foreign money that's being poured into elite American universities. And the answer is that funding, especially from authoritarian regimes, has ramped up significantly in the last 4 years. We've actually seen that in the last 4 years, there's been $29 billion in foreign money donated to American universities. Among the biggest funders are countries like Qatar and China. And I think that is an important piece of this puzzle as well. There's a group called the NCRI, and they've done a study. It's a peer-reviewed study that showed that money specifically from authoritarian regimes is actually strongly correlated when it's donated to elite American universities. There's a strong correlation between that money and anti-Semitic incidents on campus.
Of course,
that's another
what they're
thread
buying.
that I'm now digging into.
But that's what they're buying. They're buying that influence. They're buying that agenda. They're buying that slant. They're buying the suppression of another point of view, and they have largely succeeded. We have, 66% of American youth now thinking the Holocaust either didn't exist or that it was the fault of the Jews, Franny? What's that about?
Wow. Shocking. Yeah.
Right?
It's unbelievable. So it is extremely unbelievable.
But you keep doing your thing because truth will out. And I'm a firm believer in that. Truth will out. And your job is to keep finding it and digging it up and finding it. And the struggle will continue. But I thank you for your work. Anybody can read Franny Block. Her work is online. It's in Substack. You should become a subscriber to the Free Press. And I don't own a piece of it, believe me, but I think it's the best newspaper being published right now. 203-333-9422. Thank you so much. We're going to be back at the top of the hour. Franny Block, thank you very much for joining us. We'll have you back again. You're listening to
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut. Weather update.
Sunny sky through this afternoon with a high in the mid-60s and a breeze shifting out of the southeast. Clouding over this evening. Showers arrive after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon. Milder with a high in the mid-70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Now, let's take a look back with Norman. Let's hear what happened today in WICC history.
It's May Day, May 1st. On this day in 1999, the TV show SpongeBob SquarePants premiered on Nickelodeon.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
Happy birthday to Norwalk's own Charlie D'Amelio, TikTok influencer and Dancing with the Stars winner.
The winners are Charlie and Mark!
And in 2011, President Obama announced that Osama bin Laden had been killed.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands.
May 1st.
That was today in WICC history. Every day just before 2 on the voice of Connecticut, WICC 600 and 95.9. WICC Bridgeport, WFOX Southport, WEBE HD2 Westport, WPLR HD2 New Haven, locally owned by Connoisseur Media.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Cammie McCormick. A shakeup at the White House. CBS News has learned National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and his deputy are leaving. CBS's Margaret Brennan.
Signal gate, so to speak, was the beginning of a level of distrust here. The president has maintained no one did anything wrong. So that cannot be the grounds for a dismissal. My understanding is that it is actually going to some policy divides and some frustration on a personal level with Waltz and Wong. But we'll be following this developing story.
There has been no comment from the White House. Reporter Olivia Rinaldi.
We'll be watching to see exactly what the framing is of whether or not he chose to leave, offered his resignation, or whether or not the president had just lost confidence in him and said it's time to go.
On this May Day, a day when many protest, judges and lawyers are staging their own demonstrations as the many court battles play out with the administration. Scott McFarland reports.
It's happening on the Supreme Court steps as
lawyers take their oaths again, trying to reassure themselves and reassure the public that they remain devoted not to a specific client or political figure, but to the Constitution itself.
A federal judge today barred the Trump administration from deporting any Venezuelans from South Texas under the Alien Enemies Act. He's the first judge to rule that the act cannot be used against people the administration claims are gang members. We're learning more about the deal the administration signed with Ukraine yesterday. Ukrainian President Zelensky said today the minerals deal is truly equal. Ramy Inocencio reports it contains a different sort of security guarantee than the Ukrainians sought.
The hope, at least, is that this agreement will mean that the U.S., if it invests, will be more inclined to protect then what becomes its own interest, right? Washington will want to keep its money safe, that's a belief, and that it'll keep defending against Russia's invasion.
General Motors pledged today to take additional steps to boost its U.S. supply chain after projecting a $4 to $5 billion hit to earnings due to tariffs. The company says it hopes to offset 30% of that with self-help measures that include quick changes to production and the supply chain. Jason Brooks reports there are more worries about the labor market.
Challenger Gray and Christmas reports that U.S. employers announced more than 105,000 job cuts in April, up more than 60% compared to a year earlier. Federal government cuts slowed down, but topped more than 282,000 in 2025, more than 7 times above the level from the same period a year earlier.
And checking the markets at this hour, the Dow Jones Industrials are currently up 196 points. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-230-2777. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-230-2777. That's 800-230-2777. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. 800-230-2777.
WICC 695.9. Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
The Bridgeport man who strangled his cellmate at the Bridgeport Correctional Center last year has taken a plea deal from prosecutors. 36-year-old Cecil Mills strangled 43-year-old Stephen Bailey while he was awaiting trial on robbery and sexual assault charges in May of 2024. The plea deal calls for Mills to serve 40 years in prison to be followed by 10 years of special parole. According to a post in Hearst Media, the arrest warrant affidavit states that at 5:43 a.m. on May 26th, a correctional officer was just finishing the breakfast procedure in the jail's housing unit when Mills refused to go back to his cell. Mills stated, "I killed my cellie," the affidavit states, meaning his cellmate. The Office of the Inspector General announced today the use of deadly force by a West Haven police officer in early December 2023 was justified. Officer Alex Triscritti shot and killed 33-year-old Jovan Washington when Washington reached under a mattress, pulled out a gun, and shot another officer in the leg. It happened in an apartment on Terrace Avenue when police responded to a domestic complaint. The injured officer recovered. And there is a hearing tonight in Bridgeport to fight for more city dollars to be invested in Bridgeport schools. Earlier this week, the Board of Education voted to eliminate 20 teacher positions, dozens of paraprofessional positions, all district librarian positions, a popular art program, and bus transportation for around 2,400 students to help close a $30 million budget deficit. Board members want to reverse that decision if more money from the city council goes to education. Bridgeport Board of Education Vice Chair Joseph Sokolovic says that education in Bridgeport has been consistently undervalued.
The governance of Bridgeport has not valued education on the same level as they value for, public safety, for say. Public safety is getting a $4.1 million increase, opposed to the Bridgeport Public Schools increase of $3 million, a much smaller department. The city of Bridgeport rather spend money on bullets than books.
The hearing is taking place at 6 p.m. at Bridgeport City Hall on Lyon Terrace. I'm Chris Williams with WICC News.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Merritt Parkway southbound construction, exit 29 down to 28. Right lane is out. On the Upper Merritt southbound construction from Route 8 down to exit 50. On the Wilbur Cross northbound construction, Route 34 going through Woodbridge into Hampton. On 91 northbound roadwork, exits 6 through 9. And further ahead, 2 lanes blocked, exits 15 and 16. Route 8 southbound construction through Beacon Falls going down to exit 15. And on 84 westbound, more roadwork, exits 9 and 7. Left lane is out. Traffic report powered by Kitchen Corner. Visit Kitchen Corner in Fairfield, the headquarters for your cooking needs and grilling essentials. Offering expert knife sharpening. 203-374-1118 or kitchen-corner.com. I'm Edge Krause with WICC Traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
You're listening to Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
So help me out here. Honestly, I'm not saying this for effect. I'm not trying to be the tricky yokel talk show host here, kicking off another 4-hour extravaganza, trying to be cute here. I honestly want some help here, because maybe you can figure something out that I can't. Because there was a story earlier this week. We're just getting details of it now. And we heard about it yesterday and the day before, and now more details are coming out. And, you know, it's one of these stories I just don't get. Even when you give progressives in this state apparently everything they want when it comes to dealing with migrants, with illegals, it for a lot of people, I guess including the governor, by what he said, it's still not good enough. I mean, are these people serious about public safety? What am I talking about? You probably saw this story floating around from our friends at News 8 and the mayor of Middletown, Ben Florsheim. He's all up in arms. Did you see this story? Happened this past Tuesday. Let me read the details of this story because I'm looking at the details of this story. Honestly, I'm not trying to be a jerk here. And I'm saying, well, okay, this, that, and that. What more do they want? The mayor of Middletown says ICE was behind an arrest outside the courthouse. Okay. ICE is not going. What do we hear from progressives all the time? Oh, they're going into the schools. No, this was not at a school. They're scaring people in hospitals. No, this was not a hospital. They're going to churches, mosques, and synagogues. No, that didn't happen here. The mayor of Middletown says here from our friends at News 8, says he's confirmed an incident outside the courthouse Tuesday morning was ICE in action. Mayor Ben Florsheim said several city employees saw a team of unknown individuals get out of an unmarked SUV outside the courthouse in Middletown at 1 Court Street. So again, this is Tuesday now. Let's set the scene here. there are, guys and gals, I guess, in dark ICE uniforms, whatever, and they get out of an SUV. All right? Sounds fine to me. Some team members wore clothes that identified them with the FBI. One had a vest that said police and reportedly wore a black bandana covering most of his face. Okay. So now they're wearing stuff that identifies them at a courthouse, right? Am I missing something here? Just checking. And it's not in the middle of the night. They're not breaking down anybody's doors. They're not rumbling and rambling and doing a jackbooted thug march into a school. They're at a courthouse. And we continue. The mayor said they took somebody waiting to go inside for a scheduled court date into custody. Now the plot thickens. Says here, News 8 has confirmed that 23-year-old Kenneth Ramirez Munoz was taken into custody. The courthouse clerk told News 8, and by the way, anything the clerk says is public record, so there's no subterfuge here by anyone. The clerk said that Ramirez Munoz was scheduled to be sentenced on Tuesday, but he didn't show up. I wonder why. So apparently this guy was taken by qualified law enforcement, not in the middle of the night, not at a church, not at a school, not at a nursing home, not at a synagogue. They got this guy at a courthouse. And my deductive reasoning tells me here, finally honed, that if you're scheduled to be sentenced, that means you were convicted of, what would that be, a crime? Yes. Usually you get sentenced after you commit a crime. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm guessing. Now, what did this fine gentleman do, you ask? Now, remember, the governor always says, well, if you're going to take them, we go after criminals. Okay. So this guy was taken by professionals, middle of the day, at a courthouse, and they always talk about, due process. Well, apparently, due process was followed here, I should say, if the guy was going to be, right, sentenced. Am I missing anything here? I don't think so. Ramirez Munoz was one of 9 people arrested in March of 2024. This after police responded to a noise complaint at the Clinton Outlets. That's a mall. The victim, I guess it was a crime committed, shocking, told police that he had been threatened with a gun and was kidnapped from New Rochelle, New York, and then brought to Clinton. Sounds like this gentleman was not applying to Yale. Mayor Florsheim said Middletown police were not told of the plan in advance, but once it was reported to them, they confirmed the arrest was an ICE enforcement action. Now, hold on a second. Well, you know what? Let's take a wee bit of a break here. Because, again, this is all falling into place here. This is just the way Democrats want it, right? They don't want it at night. They want it in broad daylight. They don't want local police involved with ICE. Well, local police weren't involved with ICE here. In other words, and it's only got to be if they're criminal aliens. Okay, this guy's a criminal. But yet, there's outrage. Oh, my God, there's outrage because, the progressives got everything they wanted here. This is the kind of thing that leads me to believe sometimes they're just not serious. Am I wrong in thinking this, or is this tell us that, a lot of times they talk a good game here, but in the end, is it just a case of wink and a nod and look away?
You listen to Melissa in the Morning, live from the Voice of Connecticut studios. But now, she's coming to your town.
Order up.
It's the WICC Brown Roofing Melissa in the Morning Diner Tour. Every Thursday morning, join Melissa Sheketoff as she broadcasts live from diners across Fairfield County. She'll interview local leaders, selectmen, and everyone that makes your town great. Get a full schedule at voiceofct.com and join us. Presented by Maritime Chevrolet. AARP Connecticut and Connecticut Education Association.
This is Melissa for Stanford Health. When it comes to heart and vascular care, we want the best. And some of the best heart care in the world is right here at Stanford Health, starting with their partnership with Columbia University Irving Medical Center. And Stanford Health isn't just Lower Fairfield County's only open heart surgery program. They're its most extensive cardiac program, period. World-class heart and vascular care is closer to home at Stanford Health. For more, visit stanfordhealth.org/heart.
Get to Citi Field when the Mets host the Chicago Cubs and the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Cubs are in for a weekend series Friday, May 9th through Sunday, May 11th. First 15,000 fans at Friday's game get a Clay Holmes hockey jersey from Hyundai. Saturday, the first 15,000 fans will receive an Edwin Diaz bobblehead from Moo. And on Sunday, the first 15,000 fans get a clutch purse from Lisa Sleep. The homestand continues with 3 against the Pirates, Monday, May 12th through Wednesday, May 14th. Get your tickets now at Mets.com/tickets.
You're listening to WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut, broadcasting from Cadillac of Greenwich Studios, CadillacofGreenwich.com.
The Bridgeport Rescue Mission is thrilled to announce that Liz Murray will be the keynote speaker at this year's upcoming luncheon, Inspiring Hope. Liz is the author of Breaking Night, a memoir of forgiveness, survival, and her journey from homelessness to Harvard. Please help support the Bridgeport Rescue Mission so they can continue their work helping our neighbors in need. It will be an unforgettable luncheon at the Riverside Yacht Club in Riverside, Connecticut on May 21st. For tickets, go to bridgeportrescuemission.org. Click Events.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text ALL to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text ALL to 321-321. That's ALL to 321-321.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Merritt Parkway southbound construction, exit 29 down to 28. Right lane is out. On the Upper Merritt southbound construction from Route 8 down to exit 50. On the Wilbur Cross northbound construction, Route 34 going through Woodbridge into Hampton. On 91 northbound roadwork, exits 6 through 9. And further ahead, 2 lanes blocked, exits 15 and 16. Route 8 southbound construction through Beacon Falls going down to exit 15. And on 84 westbound, more roadwork, exits 9 and 7. Left lane is out. Traffic report powered by Kitchen Corner. Visit Kitchen Corner in Fairfield, the headquarters for your cooking needs and grilling essentials. Offering expert knife sharpening. 203-374-1118 or kitchen-corner.com. I'm Edge Krause with WICC Traffic.
For this evening and overnight, clouding over with the showers arriving after midnight, a low near 50. Patchy fog early tomorrow. Cloudy with the scattered showers through the afternoon, milder with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, early fog with more showers and a thunderstorm in a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Voice your opinion on the voice of Connecticut. 203-333-9422. Back to Connecticut Today with Paul Pacelli. WICC 600 and 95.9.
You know, and once again, the hypocrisy of the Democratic elected majority in this state, it's on display. And before you start saying, there you go with the Democrats again, well, yeah, because even if you give the Democratic majority in this state every single thing they want in dealing with illegals or criminal migrants, they're still not happy. They still whine and cry and bitch and moan and pearl clutch. What am I talking about? In case you're just joining us, Tuesday, ICE nabs some guy that apparently was waiting to be sentenced in a criminal case. They didn't go into a church. They didn't go into a school. They didn't go into a nursing home. They didn't go into a hospital. They didn't disrupt a beachfront bocce game with a bunch of retirees. They did it at a courthouse. And the governor's all up in arms. Ben Florsheim, the mayor of Middletown, is up in arms. Well, you people, this is what you always say. Don't go into safe spaces. Okay, it was a courthouse outside. Don't do it in the middle of the night. No, they did it in broad daylight. Well, we only want to, we understand that criminal illegals need to be deported. Well, okay, what do you think these people were doing? And the big cherry on the top of their immigrant happy ending Sunday is always, well, we don't want local police involved because it burns the trust in local police. Well, okay then, Mayor and Governor. Apparently, by what we're being told, the Middletown police admitted they weren't told about this. Isn't that what you people want? What am I missing here? Or maybe I'm missing that the elected majorities in parts of the state are total hypocrites on this. They are total hypocrites. Everything was done apparently by the letter. The wish list of the left, every box was checked on this in Middletown on Tuesday, and they're still complaining. And the mayor's office and everybody was saying, well, we weren't told about this. Well, why do you think you weren't told? Because ICE and the feds don't trust you. That's why. They don't trust you. This guy they picked up was one of 9 people arrested back in March of 2024 in connection with a gun and kidnapping case. Apparently, if I'm reading this right, and I might be wrong, apparently he did get his due process. The city clerk in Middletown said, yeah, he was supposed to be, sentenced today. No, well, guess what, ma'am? He was outside getting nabbed. So again, what is the triad of dealing with illegals for a lot of progressives? Only the criminals. Okay, this guy sounds like a criminal, number one. Number two, make sure they have due process. Well, certainly sounds like this guy was getting or did get due process. And number three, we don't want the local police involved because that will erode trust in our migrant community. Okay, they weren't involved here. What more do you want? But still, you have officials shanking federal employees in the back. The mayor said the city is currently in the process of seeking all relevant information about this case, and I've been in touch with Senator Murphy and Attorney General Tong to determine the next steps. Now, wait a minute. Now, hold on. Don't we hear from progressives and Democrats all the time, well, we're not going to aid immigration enforcement because that's not what cities do. That's what the federal government does, and we don't want our cops or our people involved in that. Okay, so isn't that exactly what's happening here? Look, you're either consistent or you're not. As my mother used to say, you're full of, can't say it or I'd be suspended here. So please help me out here. 203-333-9422, 333-WICC. Again, apparently a criminal illegal that was going through or did go through and was waiting for sentencing after a court proceeding was nabbed, not using local police. What more do they want? And the worst part is, and this really disappoints me. I generally like the policies of Governor Lamont, but sometimes it sounds like he says stuff just to go along with the leftists in this state. After an immigration policy roundtable on Wednesday in Hartford, Governor Lamont told News 8 Connecticut police do everything they can to keep our streets safe. We get all criminals, regardless of immigration background, off the streets. But get this, but I do think we get involved. I don't think we get involved in everyday immigration issues. Okay, Governor, isn't that what happened in Middletown here? He said that's what ICE does. Ready for this? You see what the governor said here? Too aggressively. too aggressively. A guy from Fairfield County worth hundreds of millions of dollars is telling ICE how to do its job. Come on, Governor, stop that. Where do these people get off telling federal law enforcement how to do their jobs? It's maddening. Lamont said a situation like Middletown's can interrupt Connecticut's flow of justice if someone can't show up to a court date because ICE has picked them up. Wait a minute. Hold it. Oh, my God. So if ICE picks them up, they're gone. Governor, with all due respect, sir, that means we don't have to wait for them. There's no burden on local law enforcement if they get rid of them. Folks, they're just talking in circles now. This makes no sense. It's talking in circles. What is going on here? Please explain this to me. Am I caught in a vortex here? Is this a Twilight Zone episode that was on the cutting room floor that never made it? Seriously. 203-333-9422, 333-WICC. Please tell me. All right? Tell me here, even when the left gets everything they want in an encounter with ICE and immigration in a Connecticut street, it's still not good enough. Please, somebody explain that to me.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Merritt Parkway southbound construction, exit 29 down to 28. Right lane is out. On the Upper Merritt southbound construction from Route 8 down to exit 50. On the Wilbur Cross northbound construction, Route 34 going through Woodbridge into Hampton. On 91 northbound roadwork, exits 6 through 9. And further ahead, 2 lanes blocked, exits 15 and 16. Route 8 southbound construction through Beacon Falls going down to exit 15. And on 84 westbound, more road work, exits 9 and 7. Left lane is out. I'm Edge Krause with WICC Traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Looking for a reliable dentist in your neighborhood? Columbia Dental's Norwalk office is here for you. Located at 91 East Avenue, our team of general dentists and an oral surgeon are ready to serve you. As part of the Columbia Implant Center network in Manchester, we offer 7-day-a-week services, including an in-house digital dental lab for same-day emergency care. Visit our website at columbiadental.com for more information and to book your appointment today. Your smile is our priority.
Unlock the potential of your business with Constep, Connecticut's premier manufacturing consulting firm. For over 25 years, Constep has focused on growth opportunities and client success in a changing manufacturing world. Their expert team of trusted advisors offers tailored solutions combining technical know-how with workforce strategies for transformative results. To help your manufacturing company reach its full potential, visit constep.org and schedule a free consultation. That's CONNSTEP.org.
The Greater Bridgeport Symphony is proud to present Something Big, Maestro Eduardo Leandro's grand inaugural concert as GBS's new music director and principal conductor, performing works by Brahms and Mendelssohn, featuring Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, with guest pianist Andrew Armstrong, Saturday, May 10th at 7:30 p.m. It's Mother's Day Eve. Bring your mom to the Klein Memorial Auditorium in Bridgeport. Tickets $18 to $72, sponsored by the Ernest and Joan Treffs Foundation. Get tickets now at gbs.org. Greater Bridgeport Symphony.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh, did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
This is WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
CBS News Brief. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and his deputy Alex Wong are leaving the White House, according to sources. CBS's Margaret Brennan.
My understanding is that it is actually going to some policy divides and some frustration on a personal level with Waltz and Wong.
CBS's Olivia Rinaldi.
Susie Wiles, who's Trump's chief of staff, is briefing members of the National Security Council about this today.
The president at an earlier event made no mention of it, but he did touch on one key aspect of the budget negotiations.
One of the things that's very important will be saving Medicaid for Americans in need. We will not let the Democrats destroy it and all the waste, fraud, and abuse that they seem to love.
But House Republicans are facing the challenge of slashing $1.5 trillion. The administration's ending the duty-free exemption on low-value items from China beginning today and will start collecting tariffs on every single shipment. CBS News Brief, I'm Cammie McCormick.
WICC 695.9, Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
A new piece of legislation concerning gun ownership has advanced through the General Assembly. House Bill 7042 will make it possible for victims of gun violence to bring lawsuits against retailers or even gun makers who sell their products to someone who uses it to commit a crime. Republicans believe that this action is an overreach by state government. Wolcott Republican State Senator Rob Sampson told WTNH-TV News 8 that the bill was unprecedented.
I mean, this particular bill is doing something that's never been done before, which is to say that now we're going to hold the manufacturer of a product responsible for what happens when someone purchases it and uses it in an unlawful way.
However, state Democrats believe that this is a much-needed step towards accountability for gun manufacturers.
Keeping somebody liable and accountable for their actions is what we do in a private business, is what we do in our personal lives. We should do that with guns as well. I think everybody would think that that's common sense.
The bill was passed by the House and will now move to the Senate. An 18-year-old man and 2 juveniles have been arrested for allegedly shooting paintballs at people from a vehicle in Norwalk. Police say 18-year-old Mason Rena and the 2 minors fired shots at 2 people early yesterday morning, hitting one of them in the leg. The 3 suspects are charged with 2 counts of breach of peace along with criminal mischief. The victim who was struck was hit in the leg and was not seriously injured. A convicted felon wanted in multiple states was arrested in Bridgeport after he allegedly kidnapped a woman. Police say Nicholas Allwood chased a woman from a home on Gregory Street with a knife yesterday as officers were preparing to enter and arrest him. The woman was not injured, and police say Allwood was living in Bridgeport under an alias to avoid capture. Among the out-of-state warrants are ones for attempted murder in New York. A Bridgeport City Councilwoman who was charged criminally in a ballot fraud case has resigned from office. Jazz Marie Melendez was arrested in February on charges accusing her of misusing absentee ballots. Melendez says she's resigning because she can accomplish more as an unelected activist. She is the sister of Jason Negron, a 15-year-old who was shot and killed by Bridgeport police in 2017. Melendez became a community activist after her brother's death. A man is hospitalized after being stabbed multiple times in Bridgeport. The stabbing happened at around 10 a.m. yesterday behind a business on Iranistan Avenue. The victim's condition has not been updated. Police say the investigation into the stabbing is active, and they are seeking to identify the responsible suspects. State Republicans are asking for veto power over Connecticut state colleges and universities' salaries following the scandal surrounding Terrence Chang, the soon-to-be former CSCU chancellor. Chang is stepping down this coming July following his inappropriate use of state funds on personal expenses. Despite stepping down from his role as chancellor, Chang will retain an advisory position on the board, which includes his $400,000+ a year salary. In response to this, Brookfield Republican State Senate Minority Leader Steve Harding has introduced a measure that would give the state veto power for salaries exceeding $400,000. In a conversation with WTNH-TV News 8, Harding called the current situation unacceptable.
Believe that the taxpayer money is sacred. The tuition money is sacred. It should be used in an efficient and effective manner. And using it in the manner that Chancellor Chang did is unacceptable. And what the Board of Regents did is basically handed him a $440,000 a year salary on the taxpayer dime.
Governor Ned Lamont, however, has stood by the decision.
I mean, we stepped up. I think we've done the right thing. When it comes to Terrence Chang, he had a contract. We're going to finish off that contract, but we have new leadership for the CSU system, and I think that's the right thing to do.
And there was unanimous bipartisan support in the State House of Representatives and the State Senate to pass legislation that would bring new benefits to firefighters, veterans, and military families. The Senate bill expands coverage under the state's Firefighter Cancer Relief Fund to include skin cancers. The House bill includes a wide-ranging measure to expand benefits for veterans, service members, and their families. Both bills are expected to maintain strong bipartisan support and eventually head to the governor's desk for his signature. I'm Chris Williams with WICC News.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Merritt Parkway southbound construction, exit 29 down to 28. Right lane is out. On the Upper Merritt southbound construction from Route 8 down to exit 50. On the Wilbur Cross northbound construction, Route 34 going through Woodbridge into Hampton. On 91 northbound roadwork, exits 6 through 9. And further ahead, 2 lanes blocked, exits 15 and 16. Route 8 southbound construction through Beacon Falls going down to exit 15. And on 84 westbound, more roadwork, exits 9 and 7. Left lane is out. I'm Edge Krause with WICC Traffic.
For this evening and overnight, clouding over with the showers arriving after midnight, a low near 50. Patchy fog early tomorrow. Cloudy with the scattered showers through the afternoon. Milder with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday early fog with more showers and a thunderstorm in the high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
If Shelton is talking about it, so is Paul. Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
So we had this kerfluffle, if you will, this dust up in Middletown earlier this week. I guess this happened Tuesday morning. A migrant was set to be sentenced in a criminal case, which meant that he apparently had an experience in the criminal justice system. He had due process. It was broad daylight. Local police weren't involved, and he was picked up by ICE. And yet you have outrage from the apparent outrage, unless he's calmed down now. You haven't heard too much about it. Ben Florsheim, the mayor of Middletown, the governor apparently is not happy about this. So, the question begs, after we got done with the last half hour and we went to news, I went in the kitchen and somebody said to me, they said, "Hey, I heard your first segment there." And this person looked at me and said, "Do you think this is a case of the governor not being serious about what he says about immigration?" I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And this person in our kitchen here at Connoisseur, a few feet here from the studio, said, "Well, like you said, it checked off all the boxes, and the people are still asking questions." I'm like, maybe. So, I'm kind of wondering here, dovetailing off what one of my coworkers said here in the kitchen a little while ago. Great ideas get exchanged in the kitchen here at Connoisseur Media. But do you think, and I'm not trying to be arrogant toward the governor, I understand, but when I ask this seriously. Because he's a very smart guy. You don't get to be worth what Governor Lamont and his wife are worth, hundreds of millions of dollars, God bless them, unless you work hard and you know what's going on, and we get that. So does he say some of the things sometimes, knowing that he's got to keep a very sometimes raucous caucus? I don't mean to do the alliteration there. But, does he have to keep everybody calm? Because he and other Democrats, they've got to know that sometimes it's okay to deport people. Stop talking down ICE like they are some sort of federal invading hordes. They are federal employees, like hundreds of thousands of federal employees. They have a job to do. They choose to work for an agency that, whether you like it or not, enforces immigration laws. They have a job. They report to work in the morning or the night before and saying, hey, we this is the person we're getting. They don't care about local politics. So again, I'm trying to figure out why the outrage, unless it's being feigned or unless it's authentic here, by, the mayor of Middletown, and he's all up in arms, and I guess the governor isn't happy about it too. But look, this happened in broad daylight the other day on a Tuesday. It didn't happen at a school. It didn't happen at a church or a synagogue or a mosque or a hospital or a daycare center or a senior center. Happened at a courthouse, apparently connected to a gentleman who had committed some sort of crime. The city clerk there in Middletown telling our friends at News 8, hey, this guy was due to be sentenced, but he never showed up. I wonder why. So you have a criminal alien. We always hear from Democrats, right? Well, we want to remove the criminals. Well, okay. And we always hear, well, we don't want our local police involved because that might erode any trust between the police force and migrants. Okay, apparently there were no Middletown cops involved in this. All right. So that checks box 1, box 2, and box 3. No local cops, no sort of protected properties. This was at the courthouse. And it was a criminal, apparently, who was involved, according to what News 8 and now other outlets are saying, was involved in some sort of kidnapping at gunpoint. So, and believe me, if I see any more corrective information on this, I'll definitely let you know. But I ask, what's the problem? Or is the problem just, let me ask that rhetorically here. Is the problem that they feel, maybe as Democrats or progressives, from Governor Malloy, I'm still in recovery, folks. Trust me, from Governor Lamont, Paul, Dan Malloy's in Maine now. Yes, I know. From Governor Lamont on down, maybe are they afraid to just say something good about ICE? Are they afraid to say thank you to ICE or whatever for breaking up whatever criminal ring may have been broken up? Not in this case, but you know what I mean? Are they so paralyzed with political fear? Are they in a political stasis, if you will? Science fiction, a stasis field where everything is frozen, nobody can move. They're in some sort of physical stasis. Are they that afraid of political blowback, even if they side just a little bit with federal officials who are trying to keep people safe?
Selling your home is a big decision. You deserve someone who truly listens and picks up the phone when you call. I'm Jonathan Carbeauty with Carbeauty Real Estate, and we make real estate simple. Whether you're ready to sell, just exploring your options, or even want a cash offer on your property, call me directly at 203-980-6886. No pressure, just real results.
Sell your home smoothly when you call Carbeauty. Go to CarBeautyRealEstate.com.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
online. I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelty can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelty?
Just send them a text.
Text SKINNY to 323232 to get started today with Zelty. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text SKINNY to 323232 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text SKINNY to 323232. That's SKINNY to 323232. SKINNY to 323232.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now traffic.
Merritt Parkway southbound construction, exit 29 down to 28. Right lane is out. On the Upper Merritt southbound construction from Route 8 down to exit 50. On the Wilbur Cross northbound construction, Route 34 going through Woodbridge into Hampton. On 91 northbound roadwork, exits 6 through 9. And further ahead, 2 lanes blocked, exits 15 and 16. Route 8 southbound construction through Beacon Falls going down to exit 15. And on 84 westbound, more roadwork, exits 9 and 7. Left lane is out. I'm Edge Krause with WICC traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Listen while you're at work at voiceofct.com. Now back to Connecticut Today with Paul Pizzelli on WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
And, of course, you can stream us as well for all your digital devices. And by the way, if you like to watch me do the show, which is very exciting, you see me talking into a microphone, you see me staring at my computer, you see me drinking coffee. It's amazing. Go to find a WICC on twitch.tv. That's twitch.tv. And we're also on YouTube as well. So gather around the telly and watch, and you'll say, geez, that's what he looks like? Man, oh, man. All right, Randy's in Trumbull here. Hey, Randy, how are you, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I wanted to just mention, I definitely get what the governor is saying about how this isn't really good optics. Maybe it could have been done in a different way. But to me, now with the whole, I think his name was Kilmar Garcia, right? Or is?
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, yeah.
Yeah, with what's going on with him. And there was another lady who was basically deported for her freedom of speech. Now when I hear about these people getting taken away, I'm constantly thinking about, well, you know, what constitutional right is going to be violated next, you know?
Yeah, but apparently the guy had gone through the court system. I mean, he was there for sentencing, Randy. This is what the city, and again, if I see anything different on this, I'll let you folks know. But apparently they knew this guy was going to be sentenced on Tuesday at the courthouse.
Sure, but now the next question is he going to get an immigration hearing?
I believe the rule is, and don't quote me on this, Randy, if you are convicted of certain crimes, you're gone. I believe.
No. You have to go to, assuming you came here legally.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Some of those people that got deported deserved hearings and didn't. I think you probably know about Kilmar. A judge said he could stay here in 2019. And yet he was deported.
Listen, they look, and I said early on, Randy, if this guy was deported incorrectly, they should bring him back. You know why? If for nothing else, it'll stop sucking up all the oxygen in the room. I mean, it's just dumb when they're going to dig in over one guy and go to the mat for, one guy who, okay, you may have screwed up. Now, the guy is not a Boy Scout leader. We all know that, but just admit you're wrong, man, and just move on. You're not going to lose points for that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. My concern is like I said, the First Amendment. There was some lady who was deported basically for using her freedom of speech. She said, I think some universities should divest in Israel. So in 2019, I believe, she wrote this piece. And she was basically deported for that.
Yeah, listen, and Randy, thank you for the call. I got to move on. Appreciate it. Yeah, listen, a lot of these cases are iffy, and Randy brings up the freedom of speech cases. And I guess and we've had experts on from CBS and other universities and legals who kind of said, well, not kind of, they've really explained it well, I think, saying that, well, immigration courts are under the authority to give you a lot less leeway here. So there's one of two things happening here in some of these immigration cases and the freedom of speech cases here. Where's the line between peaceful protests? Right now, take the case of this guy, Mahmoud Khalil, who now you have a federal judge sticking his legal nose into an area that most legal scholars say is strictly an immigration case. So you have this guy, Khalil. Now, the reason he's in the position he's in, or the reason that there's the controversy over him, is this guy apparently at Columbia was not just sitting there very quietly protesting. They believe, the federal government believes, the State Department believes, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, for example, believes that what a guy like Khalil does and some others basically act as an arm of organizations like Hamas. And the question becomes, where is that line between protests and actually, as the State Department is arguing now in the Khalil case, undermining the foreign policy of the U.S., which I believe is the State Department argument. Hey, this guy goes out there cheering for the destruction of Israel and boosting Hamas. Well, it was the same thing with that woman, that kidney specialist, I think a transplant surgeon at Brown. And remember, they booted her, and I kept saying, wait a minute, there's got to be more here. Well, turns out she went out of the country for a bit and went to the funeral of Hassan Nasrallah, who was one of the founders of Hamas. And they found that she had pictures of terrorists on her phone, which, according to the data in the phone, she tried to delete. And when they asked her about it, she said, well, I went there non-politically. It was a religious service. Well, okay. But again, when you're not a formal citizen and here on a green card, and I didn't make up the rules, the feds tend to give you a little more scrutiny. That's all. You probably shouldn't have. Maybe it's unfair to her. My guess is don't have pictures of terrorists on your phone. I'm just, call me nuts. Call me crazy. I mean, honestly, do you think if a staff doctor or a U.S. citizen had a phone full of pictures of Hitler or Mussolini or anybody, their employer would look on them with any sort of grace? It'd be a tough legal question there, I think. Dave in Brantford's here. Dave, how are you, sir? What's up?
You have painted an excellent picture of the situation using logic. I feel like the establishment in Connecticut, they are in a palpable dream that we are a sanctuary state, which they have now called a welcoming state or a welcoming city.
Mr. Tong said, don't use the word sanctuary. Yes.
And so this pops the bubble of what they have imagined, that everything Trump and the Republicans do is illegitimate and goon squad. And I kind of liken it to when the alarm clock goes off and you're in the middle of a wonderful dream and you're mad at the clock. and you know what? The dream never was real. And that's what they're mad at. The dream has been spoiled. We are not a welcoming city because real laws apply in the real world. And that's my analysis.
All right, Dave.
Not that I disagree with yours.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. Yeah, listen, because I looked at this case yesterday and I say, okay, what are they mad at? Okay, they didn't go inside somebody's home. They didn't send kids crying. It wasn't done by local police. Apparently, and again, if we get more information on this, I'll give it to you. Apparently, the guy had gone through some manner of due process, because the city clerk telling our friends at News 8 that he was there to be sentenced, and he had gotten picked up. And I mean, this guy didn't grab a bag of Skittles in the Quickie Mart down the street, if you'll excuse the expression. Apparently it was a kidnapping case from New York all the way through Middletown to Clinton. Eesh, frequent flyer miles. Bob in Trumbull's here. Bob, how are you?
Well, I don't know, Reverend Paul.
Yeah?
I missed you for a couple
Yeah,
weeks.
so what's been on your mind, pal?
Well, you have.
Yeah, well, you know.
I was away.
Yes?
Yes.
And now you're back.
Yeah, and listening again.
Yes?
Yeah, the radio doesn't reach down there, but I got two issues. One is you got to figure out this is corrupticate.
Yes.
So they want to keep the criminals here and don't want them to be deported. They want to keep their ideology of corruption. And the second one is the thing Chris brought up in the news.
Yeah.
That they want to be able to sue manufacturers, the gun.
Yes, I'm going to get to that. Liability,
yes. But what that opens up is if somebody stabs you with a knife, you should be able to sue them. If somebody drinks too much and runs over you with a car, you should be able to sue them because they should have never sold these cars to knives.
Bob, in fact,
a Democrat.
I know where you're going on this, and I agree with you. And Bob, thanks. Good to have you back here after your trip. No, listen, we're going to get to that eventually here. There's a move to pass a law in the state. In case you folks are wondering what Bob was talking about, you've probably heard this. If somebody does something illegal with a gun, if they buy a gun or get a gun and screw up, the notion is here, well, you can sue the gun manufacturer if there's certain themes in the advertising, if they didn't modify their gun design as to not make the gun easy to modify. Basically, this bill should be renamed the Trial Lawyers Support Act.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Merritt Parkway southbound construction, exit 29 down to 28. Right lane is out. On the Upper Merritt southbound construction from Route 8 down to exit 50. On the Wilbur Cross northbound construction, Route 34 going through Woodbridge into Hampton. On 91 northbound roadwork, exits 6 through 9. And further ahead, 2 lanes blocked, exits 15 and 16. Route 8 southbound construction through Beacon Falls going down to exit 15. And on 84 westbound, more roadwork, exits 9 and 7. Left lane is out. I'm Edge Krause with WICC Traffic.
For this evening and overnight, clouding over with the showers arriving after midnight, a low near 50. Patchy fog early tomorrow. Cloudy with the scattered showers through the afternoon. Milder with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday early fog with more showers and a thunderstorm and a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
The Milford Children's Trout Derby at the Milford Duck Ponds this Saturday from 6 to 9:30 a.m. on both the upper and lower ponds. Enjoy a great day of fishing, open to all children 15 and under, no registration required, and free entry. Prizes for largest brook, brown, golden, and rainbow trouts. The Milford Striped Bass Club and the Devon Rotary invite you to the 57th Annual Children's Trout Derby this Saturday at the Milford Duck Ponds. Join the community. Search Children's Trout Derby Milford CT on Facebook.
Back to the news and talk, thanks to Smart MLS. Smart sellers ask, is my home on Smart MLS? The voice of Connecticut. WICC's 695.9. It's Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli.
And my problem with this whole thing in the Middletown situation, and again, I promise you, if there's information to the contrary, I'll give it to you. But my problem here is that now we're always assuming the worst. And as people have noted, including my Wednesday contributor, Dan Haar, ICE has operated in Connecticut for years. Yeah, this is nothing new. Getting rid of criminal illegals is nothing new.
WICC Bridgeport, WFOX Southport, WEBE HD2 Westport, WPLR HD2 New Haven, locally owned by Connoisseur Media.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Cammie McCormick. A big change at the White House involving one of President Trump's closest advisors, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Here's Linda Kenyon.
President Trump says he is nominating Mike Waltz to be the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. The president also announced Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve as interim National Security Advisor. Waltz was ousted from the Trump cabinet this morning, and then several hours later, the move to the UN was released. President Trump's first pick as UN ambassador was New York Republican Representative Elise Stefanik, whose vote in the House was considered crucial to advance the president's agenda.
Analyst Larry Sabato.
Most people thought Waltz would be fired in the week after Signalgate, especially when we learned that there was more than one. This was a continuing controversy, and Trump usually likes to cut controversies off quickly.
CBS's Ed O'Keefe at the White House on the president's decision.
Well, it sounds like a promotion, or at least gives him a landing spot. This administration has signaled from the start that they didn't necessarily consider the United Nations a serious organization or a job that they had to worry that much about. So it's a landing spot for Waltz, but it is in essence being put out to pasture because this, at least so far, is not seen as a priority for this president who's at the UN, given that he's trying to make so many changes in foreign policy unilaterally and really shake up the global order.
A federal judge ruled today that the Trump administration cannot use the Alien Enemies Act to detain and deport alleged Venezuelan gang members. On Capitol Hill, Democrats have a resolution to rein in the president's immigration moves. Senator Chuck Schumer.
Donald Trump is deporting American citizens with no due process. A threat against one is a threat against all.
On this May Day, a lot of protests are focusing on the plight of immigrants, as Brandon Eisen reports from Chicago.
Thousands of unionized workers from all industries demanding advancements in ongoing contract negotiations toward better wages and working conditions, representing 50,000 workers across the Midwest, service workers, janitors, security officers, airport and residential workers. President of SEIU Local 1, Jeannie Kastrop.
I think the message today is that immigrants are essential. They're the backbone of our economy. They're certainly the backbone of our city.
Brandon Eisen for CBS News, Chicago.
In Israel, officials say a wildfire that shut down the main road from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv is now under control. It had threatened the city of Jerusalem itself. 3 Palestinians have been arrested for allegedly starting it. The numbers have been off all day on Wall Street, up and down, not by much, but slightly. The Dow currently ahead 233 points. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com.
The peace lily is so last year. Hey, has anyone worked with fiddlenecks?
Shelby's popular flower shop is in full bloom.
We just got a request for an arrangement that evokes air. Who's up for that challenge? No?
She needs to hire a floral designer to nip foliage faux pas in the bud.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our advanced matching helps find talented candidates so you can connect with them fast. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
WICC 695.9, Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
Middletown Mayor Ben Florsheim says federal immigration officers have identified the man arrested outside the courthouse in the city this week. An unmarked black SUV pulled up outside the Court Street building on Tuesday and arrested 23-year-old Kenneth Ramirez Munoz. He had just arrived at the courthouse for sentencing in connection with an incident in Clinton last year. A court clerk confirms that Ramirez-Munoz did not show up for his sentencing hearing. A convicted felon wanted in multiple states was arrested in Bridgeport after he allegedly kidnapped a woman. Police say Nicholas Allwood chased a woman from a home on Gregory Street with a knife yesterday as officers were preparing to enter and arrest him. The woman was not injured, and police say Allwood was living in Bridgeport under an alias to avoid capture. Among the out-of-state warrants are ones for attempted murder in New York. A new piece of legislation concerning gun ownership has advanced through the General Assembly. House Bill 7042 will make it possible for victims of gun violence to bring lawsuits against retailers or even gun makers who sell their products to someone who uses it to commit a crime. Republicans believe that this action is an overreach by state government. Wolcott Republican State Senator Rob Sampson told WTNH-TV News 8 that the bill is unprecedented.
I mean, this particular bill is doing something that's never been done before, which is to say that now we're going to hold a manufacturer of a product responsible for what happens when someone purchases it and uses it in an unlawful way.
However, state Democrats believe that this is a much-needed step towards accountability for gun manufacturers.
Keeping somebody liable and accountable for their actions is what we do in private business, is what we do in our personal lives. We should do that with guns as well. I think everybody would think that that's common sense.
The bill was passed by the House and will now move to the Senate. I'm Chris Williams with WICC News.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
95 northbound, a solid hour from Greenwich through Bridgeport. A few breaks along the way through. Parkway northbound, we do have an accident reported between exit 44 and exit 46 over on the side. Out of New Haven on 95, busy but moving through Long Wharf and West Haven. And on 84 eastbound, some extra cars making their way through Danbury. Traffic report powered by the Fairfield Law Office of Eliason and Tenor. Give your family and yourself the most important gift you can give, peace of mind. Visit ConnecticutElderLaw.com. I'm Edge Krause with WICC Traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
You're listening to Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
And as you may have just heard there, top of the hour news from our own Chris Williams, now they're identifying this guy that was picked up by ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement in Middletown on Tuesday. And now everybody in Middletown, I guess from the mayor on down, a lot of people are upset at the way this happened. Well, wait a minute. This is a question I have here. Seriously, by the way, how are you? 203-333-9422, talk or text. Didn't this ICE arrest, did this not check off all the boxes that our dear progressive friends here in Connecticut always ask for, right? They always say, well, we don't want local police enforcing federal immigration law. Okay. The Middletown cops and the mayor there, Mayor Florsheim, is saying, well, you know, our cops didn't know about it. Well, wait a minute. Mayor, isn't that what your party wants? They don't want the police involved. I thought we've been hearing that over and over and over and over again. Okay, no cops involved. That's number 1 out of 3. Number 2, apparently he went through his judiciary or judicial due process because he was there to be sentenced in a case that apparently, by all these reports now, and again, they may change, we may be wrong here, but by all these reports, this case involved kidnapping and guns from reportedly from New York through Clinton and out to the mall, the shops there. I don't know. That's what we've been told. So, again, you got number 1 on the wish list of progressives here by not having the cops involved. You got number 2 because the guy apparently went through his his due process, and number three, it was a criminal act. It was a grossly, I guess, a criminal act. This was not a guy who got pinched for stealing, a 10-piece chicken McNugget. Oh, that's big living there. When you go 10-piece, that's celebration time. That's a holiday box right there. Or somebody who was in the convenience store, getting a pack of darts there, and he grabs a bag of Skittles. This apparently is a guy who committed some sort of pretty serious crime, went through the judiciary due process, and was not grabbed by the local police. So I ask seriously, what's the problem here? Or, like me, do you believe this or not? 203-333-9422. Do the progressives in this state and from the governor on down, are they just against any immigration enforcement? I think that's a fair question. In their world, would they want everyone to stay here? And by the way, in pouring through some of the stuff connected to this case and some of the rhetoric now that we're hearing from Mayor Florsheim or the disgust in this in Middletown and the governor and other people, kudos at least to Hearst, because they did, in one of their stories on this, they did point out something that I keep telling you over and over and over and over again is a key fact when you have to consider these cases. We'll tell you about that straight ahead right here on Connecticut Today.
This spring, the WICC staff is live and local with everything you need to know every single day. Join Melissa in the morning starting at 5 for Southern Connecticut news updates and exclusive interviews. The Lisa Wexler Show starts at 10, where Lisa speaks her mind and wants to hear what's on yours. All the latest news headlines continue at noon on the Download with John and Chris. Connecticut Today with Paul Pacelli goes live at 2 for the latest as you head home. And it's all live every weekday on the voice of Connecticut, WICC 600 at 95.9.
Let the original Vazis cater your next affair. From full-service off-site catering of any size or on-site in one of their private event rooms. Their menu showcases a selection of timeless and beloved dishes deeply rooted in Italian culinary traditions. From corporate events, weddings, and on-site food trucks, the original Vazis can accommodate your needs and ensure a memorable culinary experience for you and your guests. Book your next event with the Original Vazis, Broadbridge Road, Bridgeport. TheOriginalVazis.com.
Selling your home is a numbers game. The more potential buyers who see it, the greater the opportunity to sell. And when your home is listed on Smart MLS, more than 21,000 realtors see it, and so do all their buyers. Suddenly, the number of people looking at your home starts to grow by a lot. More realtors sharing your listing, more people seeing your home, more offers coming in, and maybe even more cash in your pocket. Smart move, right? Ask your realtor, is my house on Smart MLS? Smart MLS, the smart way to sell your home.
Inflation is at a 40-year all-time high, and with a recession looming, having an airtight plan is essential. Understanding your plan and how your money is working for you, not against you, is key.
It comes down to education. Knowledge is power. In this situation, when people get to that point, they understand what they're doing, and they get to enjoy their retirement stress-free.
Tune in to Mastering Your Wealth with David Gagnon every Saturday morning at 8, right here on WICC 600.
Cityline Florist in Trumbull is now taking orders for Mother's Day. Be sure to order early. Order Mom a gorgeous arrangement of fresh, vibrant flowers she'll be sure to love. Order a gift from the gift shop, a hanging basket, or planter in the greenhouse. When sending florals to your mom, trust Cityline to send anywhere in the country. Cityline Florist, 2978 Nichols Avenue in Trumbull, or citylineflorist.com. A family business with 4 generations serving the community for 107 years.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now traffic.
95 northbound, a solid hour from Greenwich through Bridgeport. A few breaks along the way through. Parkway northbound, we do have an accident reported between exit 44 and exit 46 over on the side. Out of New Haven on 95, busy but moving through Long Wharf and West Haven. And on 84 eastbound, some extra cars making their way through Danbury. Traffic report powered by the Fairfield Law Office of Eliason and Tenor. Give your family and yourself the most important gift you can give, peace of mind. Visit ConnecticutElderLaw.com. And that's Krause with WICC traffic.
For this evening and overnight, clouding over with the showers arriving after midnight, a low near 50. Patchy fog early tomorrow. Cloudy with the scattered showers through the afternoon. Milder with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, early fog with more showers and a thunderstorm and a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Everything you need to know to stay informed. Connecticut Today with Paul Pacelli is back on the Voice of Connecticut.
WICC 600 and 95.9.
All right, 203-333-9422, 333-WICC. Again, I'm just wondering, do you think we're getting gaslit here? That's a big phrase. Now, well, you're gaslighting me. You're saying one thing and meaning another, whatever. Are we getting another phrase for that is sandbagged? Are we getting, or when I was growing up, it was bull. Can't say that, no, on the radio, no. But you know what I mean. Are we getting BS'd here by a lot of the governing majority in the state who say, hey, you know, we're okay with ICE doing this, but it better not be A, B, C, or D. Well, even apparently, as we're seeing with this case in Middletown earlier this week, unless we get a gross change of facts here, at least at the outset here, from the 30,000-foot view, as the folks like to say. Now, it sounds like it's a bunch of BS when they say, well, you know, as long as they get their due process, as long as the cops don't involve themselves, the local police, you know, as long as it's not done in the dead of night, as long, well, apparently this case in Middletown fit all those criteria, all the boxes on the safeguards were all checked off, and they're still complaining. They, meaning the governor and some immigration advocates. In fact, the governor said again this week, and again, you hear some of the things he says, and I'm torn between wondering whether or not he is sincere about this, and I try not to question the sincerity of people. I'm honestly about that. I think the governor is stuck in the middle, honestly. Like that old song, "Sung in the middle with you." No, you know what I mean? Because you don't get to somebody of his stature and his wealth and his position not understanding the realities of life, but he also knows who he has to deal with in this party. So there was a day after what happened in Middletown on Tuesday. Yesterday there was an immigration forum. And again, this was to strengthen the Trust Act even more, over and over again, to yell and scream about Trump. So the governor says this. At a time when There are allegations, some may be founded or unfounded, that there's undue stress put on the Connecticut budget and what we can spend on other folks here because of what we spend on migrants. The governor said, quote, I'm reading this right out of the Connecticut News Junkie. He said, quote, I want everyone to feel welcome here. We are proudly a nation of immigrants, and I hate that we are turning away from that. I am not going to let that happen in Connecticut. Now, and I'll read that again. I don't have any audio of this. I was looking. I couldn't find it. The governor said, quote, and this is from the Connecticut News Junkie, and their people are very good. Here is a quote from the governor. Quote, I want everyone to feel welcome here, he said. Quoting again, we are proudly a nation of immigrants, and I hate that we are turning away from that. I am not going to let that happen in Connecticut. Close quotes, close paragraph. This is me talking now. It's so trite. I mean, yes. And by the way, if you're a progressive or a Democrat or middle of the road, please, I am begging you, stop sounding so pedantic. Look up the word if you know what it is. If you don't know what it is. Stop trying to sound so pedantic and say, well, you know, we're a nation of immigrants. You know, really? I didn't know that. Thank you for reminding me every 3.5 seconds when this comes up as a discussion that we're a nation of immigrants. Really? Oh, I was never taught that by my mother's family and my father's family. I thought my great-grandparents and my grandparents, I thought they just materialized out of here in New Haven. Really? We're immigrants. Hey, did you hear we're a nation of immigrants? I never knew that. Till Democrats kept telling me over and over again. Oh, Maron. Oh. Stop that, please. It's fine. Let's have good, healthy, funny, laughing debates about immigration. Stop saying, well, you know, stop wagging your finger at us. We know where we came from. Thank you. Many speakers at Wednesday's forum stressed that communication and education are both important to let immigrants know about their rights, and they have rights, but also to make sure lawmakers know how their constituents are being affected. They don't care about their constituents. They don't. And, of course, we had people there. This is the other one they pull out. Immigrants are less likely to commit crimes. Okay, tell somebody that who has been a victim of a crime from an immigrant. I mean, yes, statistically, you're right. If they are a crime victim, you know the last thing they think about? Statistics. They don't care. When my uncle was shot and killed on the job at Wilbercross High School in New Haven, I didn't care about any stat that anybody was going to bring me. When I had my car stolen, when I had my car broken into numerous times, when we had our house broken into, the last thing I would have wanted to have seen was a statistic. But while we're on the subject, let's talk about statistics. The Hearst story here in the Middletown Press regarding the outrage at what's happened in Middletown contained this. And kudos to Hearst because they do mention this all the time. Not a lot of other outlets do. But if I was still a quote unquote street reporter, I would make sure that this is in a story here. If I was writing this, the White House executive order is a broader effort to crack down on illegal immigration. Okay, blah blah blah. Here's the money sentence here, folks. Though it's not clear whether Connecticut has seen an increase in deportations since Trump's inauguration, advocates and officials say they've observed a greater ICE presence in the state, really, recently. All right, you get that? This is what I mean. Stuff is said by the governor, unless he knows stuff he's not telling us. And if he's going to say some stuff, it is incumbent on him and the people in his office to give us the complete story. Because if you give us the complete story, you can then sell your point of view on this. But again, it's not clear whether Connecticut has seen an increase in deportations since Trump's inauguration. So all this hysteria, all this bloviating, all this World War III nuclear level warning about this stuff, to me, maybe you disagree, 333-9422, to me, it's shallow. Unless you say, hey, you know what? We found out that ICE has deported far more migrants here, undocumented, than, happened under the Obama years or under the Biden years or whatever, or the first Trump term, whatever. But here it is, right from a major outlet, and kudos to them because they keep mentioning this. There is no hard empirical evidence that there are that many more deportations. There just isn't. There's no evidence. And because of that, it distresses me when our elected governor gets out there and other people sit there and basically dump on ICE. Like there's some sort of invading army. If you want to be critical of the administration, by all means, have at it. But, as leaders, and especially as leaders of a state where, let's face it, not everybody voted for Kamala Harris. If you are a leader of a state, if you are a governor of a state, if you are a lieutenant governor of a state, if you are the attorney general of a state, if you are the majority Democratic leaders of a state, you lead for everyone, not just the people who buy into your point of worldview.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
95 northbound, a solid hour from Greenwich through Bridgeport. A few breaks along the way through. Parkway northbound, we do have an accident reported between exit 44 and exit 46 over on the side. Out of New Haven on 95, busy but moving through Long Wharf and West Haven. And on 84 eastbound, some extra cars making their way through Danbury. Traffic report powered by the Fairfield Law Office of Eliason and Tenor. Give your family and yourself the most important gift you can give, peace of mind. Visit ConnecticutElderLaw.com. And that's Krause with WICC Traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Fiorek on WICC.
Annie C. Courtney Foundation is calling on compassionate individuals to provide a loving home for children in need. With over 3,000 kids in Connecticut's foster care system, the demand for licensed foster families is ever growing. From newborns to teens, Connecticut children need a supportive environment, and your family could be the perfect fit. By becoming a foster parent, you can make a life-changing impact. Visit NEC.org to learn more. Your kindness can change your life. That's NEC.org.
No part of your home is more important than the roof over your head. Hi, I'm Eddie Griffin, the owner of Brown Roofing, your local expert for roof replacement and roof repair. Water resistant, weather resistant, wind resistant, our products offer superior protection that come with a 50-year lifetime transferable warranty. Call us today at 475-445-1195 or visit us at brownroofing600.com. Brown won't let you down.
In our effort to give dissemination of notice to nonprofit agencies, Connoisseur Media invites these agencies to request notification of job openings. To register your nonprofit agency for notifications of job openings at all Connoisseur Media stations in Connecticut, call us at 203-783-8200. Ask for Tristan Holler, and be sure to give us your name, address, phone number, and a contact person at the agency. If you're on our notification list and have changes or updates, call us at 203-783-8200. Ask for Tristan Holler. Connoisseur Media is an equal opportunity employer.
You're listening to WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut, broadcasting from Cadillac of Greenwich Studios, CadillacofGreenwich.com.
All right, coming up here after news and traffic and weather together, I ran across this, and I was very careful to parse through some audio earlier in the week of our esteemed Lieutenant Governor, our esteemed Attorney General, William Tong. Mr. Tong was on MSNBC earlier this week. Now, You notice that the Velo Airlines thing and his his opposition to Avelo, and they've contracted for some flights to ICE, has kind of, I don't want to say gone away, but has kind of died out a little bit. Well, at least in my ear, eye, and mind, our Attorney General is, I think, taking a little bit of a different tact here to try and keep the Avelo stew brewing. And he has introduced a phrase that I heard 4 or 5 times. And I went, oh, that's where we're going here. So I'll come back with that. And true to form, as I've noted from our friend Mr. Tong before, it might not be the exact truth.
This is WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
CBS News Brief. There is a shakeup at the White House involving one of the president's closest advisors. President Trump has just announced he's nominating National Security Advisor Mike Waltz to be his ambassador to the UN. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve as interim National Security Advisor. The reason for the shakeup isn't clear. Rubio has been holding a number of positions, from Secretary of State to interim National Archivist to acting head of USAID. Multiple sources told CBS News that Waltz's deputy at the NSA was also leaving the post. A federal judge has barred the administration from deporting Venezuelans from South Texas under a wartime law. Here's Scott McFarland.
This is the latest in a series of court rulings against the Trump administration's use of this Alien Enemies Act, this 18th century war power for emergencies to deport people without full due process.
CBS News Brief, I'm Cammie McCormick.
WICC 695.9, Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
A man is hospitalized after being stabbed multiple times in Bridgeport. The stabbing happened at around 10 a.m. yesterday behind a business on Iranistan Avenue. The victim's condition has not yet been updated. Police say the investigation into the stabbing is active, and they are seeking to identify the responsible suspect or suspects. The Office of the Inspector General announced today the use of deadly force by a West Haven police officer in early December 2023 was justified. Officer Alex Triscritti shot and killed 33-year-old Jovan Washington when Washington reached under a mattress, pulled out a gun, and shot another officer in the leg. It happened in an apartment on Terrace Avenue when police responded to a domestic complaint. The injured officer recovered. Middletown Mayor Ben Florsheim says federal immigration officers have identified the man arrested outside the courthouse in the city this week. An unmarked black SUV pulled up outside the Court Street building on Tuesday and arrested 23-year-old Kenneth Ramirez Munoz. He had just arrived at the courthouse for sentencing in connection with an incident in Clinton last year. A court clerk confirms that Ramirez Munoz did not show up for his sentencing hearing. State Republicans are asking for veto power over Connecticut state colleges and universities' salaries following the scandals surrounding Terrence Chang, the soon-to-be former CSCU chancellor. Chang is stepping down this coming July following his inappropriate use of state funds on personal expenses. Despite stepping down from his role as chancellor, Chang will retain an advisory position on the board, which includes his $400,000 plus a year salary. In response to this, Brookfield Republican State Senate Minority Leader Steve Harding has introduced a measure that would give the state veto power for salaries exceeding $400,000. In a conversation with WTNH-TV News 8, Harding called the current situation unacceptable.
Believe that the taxpayer money is sacred. The tuition money is sacred. It should be used in an efficient and effective manner, and using it in the manner that Chancellor Chang did is unacceptable. And what the Board of Regents did is basically hand him a $440,000 a year salary on the taxpayer dime.
Governor Ned Lamont, however, has stood by his decision.
I mean, we stepped up. I think we've done the right thing. When it comes to Terrence Chang, he had a contract. We're going to finish off that contract, but we have new leadership for the CSU system, and I think that's the right thing to do.
The Bridgeport man who strangled his cellmate at the Bridgeport Correctional Center last year has taken a plea deal from prosecutors. 36-year-old Cecil Mills strangled 43-year-old Stephen Bailey while he was awaiting trial on a robbery and sexual assault charge in May of 2024. The plea deal calls for Mills to serve 40 years in prison, to be followed by 10 years of special parole. According to a post in Hearst Media, the arrest warrant affidavit states that at 5:43 a.m. on May 26th, a correctional officer was finishing the breakfast procedure in the jail's housing unit when Mills refused to go back into his cell. Mills stated, "I killed my cellie," the affidavit states, meaning his cellmate. A Bridgeport City Councilwoman who is charged criminally in a ballot fraud case has resigned from office. Jazz Marie Melendez was arrested in February on charges accusing her of misusing absentee ballots. Melendez says she's resigning because she can accomplish more as an unelected activist. She is the sister of Jason Negron, a 15-year-old who was shot and killed by Bridgeport police in 2017. Melendez became a community activist after her brother's death. There is a public hearing tonight in Bridgeport to fight for more city dollars to be invested in Bridgeport schools. Earlier this week, the Board of Education voted to eliminate 20 teacher positions, dozens of paraprofessional positions, all district librarian positions, a popular art program, and bus transportation for around 2,400 students to help close a $30 million budget deficit. Board members want to reverse that decision if more money from the city council goes to education. Bridgeport Board of Education Vice Chair Joseph Sokolovic says that education in Bridgeport has consistently been undervalued.
The governance of Bridgeport has not valued education on the same level as they value for public safety, for say. Public safety is getting a $4.1 million increase, opposed to the Bridgeport Public Schools increase of $3 million, a much smaller department. The city of Bridgeport rather spend money on bullets than books.
The hearing is taking place at 6 p.m. at Bridgeport City Hall on Lyon Terrace. And there were unanimous bipartisan votes in the State House of Representatives and the State Senate to pass legislation that would bring new benefits to firefighters, veterans, and military families. The Senate bill expands coverage under the state's Firefighter Cancer Relief Fund to include skin cancers. The House bill includes a wide-ranging measure to expand benefits for veterans, service members, and their families. Both bills are expected to maintain strong bipartisan support and eventually head to the governor's desk for his signature. I'm Chris Williams with WICC News.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
95 northbound, a solid hour from Greenwich through Bridgeport. A few breaks along the way through. Parkway northbound, we do have an accident reported between exit 44 and exit 46 over on the side. Out of New Haven on 95, busy but moving through Long Wharf and West Haven. And on 84 eastbound, some extra cars making their way through Danbury. Traffic report powered by the Fairfield Law Office of Eliason and Tenor. Give your family and yourself the most important gift you can give, peace of mind. Visit ConnecticutElderLaw.com. And that's Krause with WICC Traffic.
For this evening and overnight, clouding over with the showers arriving after midnight, a low near 50. Patchy fog early tomorrow. Cloudy with the scattered showers through the afternoon, milder with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday early fog with more showers and a thunderstorm in a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
If Stamford is talking about it, so is Paul. Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
If you've noticed the whole upset, the pearl clutching over of Velo Airlines has kind of slackened off a little bit. There was another protest outside Tweed the other day. A few dozen people showed up So our Attorney General, who is, I guess, launching a campaign for governor, I don't know, it's what it sounds like, Mr. Tong, William Tong, was on MSNBC the other night. I found this with Rachel Maddow, and, of course, Rachel and her show picked up over this. Now, I got 3 segments here. I want you to listen carefully. Basically, there were 3 questions asked by Rachel Maddow, and Mr. Tong, I guess he is still... How can I put this delicately without getting in trouble? I'm listening as a news person and saying, well, no, that's not really what I understand the story to be. And no, that's not really happening. And no, there's been no definite verification of that from any sources. But again, remember, this is the same gentleman who keeps calling AR-15s weapons of war. They're not. Who claimed that he was an anchor baby, technically, and I didn't shoot that down. The Connecticut Mirror shot that down. The story, I believe, by Mark Pasniokis. So again, he seems to be riding that line of going right up to what's true and what's not, and pushing a narrative that I think is patently unfair to Avello. I don't care what Avello does. You can hate them, you can love them. At least be honest here. So each of these segments a few seconds long. Rachel Maddow, MSNBC with William Tong the other night. Attorney General Tong, great to have you here. Please encapsulate the scenario here with your concern in Connecticut with Avello.
As the state's Attorney General, as Connecticut's Attorney General, I don't think we should be doing business with an airline that operates ICE Air. I mean, we've received reports, there's public reporting that there are detainees, many of them nonviolent, who are shackled on these flights, including children, sick children, according to some reports, with no plan for how to evacuate these detainees and shackled people, including children, if there's a problem with the plane or they have to get off the plane. And I've sent a letter to the CEO of Avello Air asking him basic questions about what they're doing and whether this is true, and he's essentially given us the finger.
Well, yeah. So, again, in that thing, it was, well, we have reports, and there are reports of this. Notice there was not any literal citation like, I have had X person tell me, or the New York Times, or NBC, or CNN has reported. It's the lawyerly, well, you know, there are allegations. Okay. Rachel Maddow basically followed up with, hey, how do your people in Connecticut feel? And what's the General Assembly going to do about this if what you say is true?
People in the legislature and people across Connecticut are outraged, and they don't want to see that fuel tax renewed. They don't want to see a tax break for a company, again, that's running ICE Air and may be a party to illegal deportations of people, potentially now American citizens, right? We're talking about a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old with cancer, American citizens who have been deported. And is ICE Air, is Avello part of those deportations and part of those flights? Look, I can't stop a company from operating a lawful business, but the state of Connecticut doesn't have to be their partner. We don't have to operate, we don't have to be a partner and invest in a new terminal, for example. We don't have to give incentives for job creation and essentially revenue guarantees. We don't have to give tax breaks over aviation fuel. We don't have to be their partner. We don't have to be in bed with a company that's hurting people and making money off of other people's misery.
So that is really near slander there, because he says, well, illegal deportations and other people's misery. But General Tong, with all due respect, so you have concrete evidence that that's happening with Avello? I should probably send this to Avello's attorneys. No, but seriously, you know, you see what his tactic is. Well, these things are happening. Does Avello have anything to do with this? I mean, boy, this is right up to the edge. But he's doing this purposely. And, you know, again, how is this going to work in the future? He's asked by Rachel Maddow. And then after this, I will play you this thematic thing that I heard in there?
Yeah, I don't really know because they won't answer my questions. And they've told me to go pound sand and take a hike, and they're not talking to me. So I can only assume that they intend to make money off of other people's misery. And the explanations that I've heard is, well, we're having trouble with our business, and the only way we can survive is by running ICE air. And if that's the only way you can survive, then it sounds like you've got bigger problems with your business. I've also heard, come on, it's legal. Can't we just operate this unethical, immoral business so we can survive? And the answer is no. We don't have to be a partner to you in doing that. And to the extent it violates the law, and by the way, we have a standing Supreme Court order that you have to provide due process to people before they are deported. You're potentially putting your flight attendants and pilots at risk of joining you, the airline, in violating the law. And if you're asking, can't we just violate the law to survive? The answer is no.
Well, wait a minute. General Tong, with all due respect, sir, with all due respect, do you have evidence that the law has been violated by Avello? Notice what he does there. Well, violate the law. Okay, so again, I'm a non-lawyer here. Maybe some of you lawyers out there hear this and go, oh boy. But before we go to break, notice what he did. The theme of this interview was basically one line or one phrase that was wrapped by everything else. Before we go to the break, here it is. He did it 4 times. Strategically, this is what attorneys do.
An airline that operates ICE Air for a company, again, that's running ICE Air. And is ICE Air, is Avello part of those deportations and part of those flights? Well, we're having trouble with our business, and the only way we can survive is by running ICE Air.
See what he's doing? You see what he did there? National television, Avello is an arm of ICE. Man, I hope their attorneys are looking at this. Traffic and weather together right here, WICC, straight
hey, it's
ahead.
Melissa Sheketoff. If you need anything relating to the trees on your property, then look no further than my friends at K&J Tree Service. For a limited time, they are offering 0% financing options off of all of their services. There are no hidden fees, and they have flexible payment plans as well to make your dream yard a reality. So what are you waiting for? Go to kjtreeservice.com. You can book your free assessment today. That's kjtreeservice.com, or you could text them for that free assessment, 203-248-TREE.
Join the Center for Family Justice for Walk a Mile in Her Shoes on Saturday, May 31st in downtown Fairfield. Walk a Mile is a fun and engaging community awareness event that asks men and boys to take their first step to end violence against women and girls. Gather your team, bring your pet, and show your support for victims and survivors of abuse by registering to join in the walk on May 31st. Learn more or register for Walk a Mile in Her Shoes at centerforfamilyjustice.org.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get your second month free for a limited time. You'll get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month. Here's Veronica and Jackie, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
And now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free when they use promo code SECONDFREE. Just call, click, or bring us your bill and see how much you can save. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and use code SECONDFREE to get a free second month. Real people paid to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
95 northbound over an hour from Greenwich to Bridgeport. A few breaks along the way through. Merritt Parkway northbound is at least slightly easier. Out of New Haven, 95 south jamming through Long Wharf into West Haven northbound. Plenty of company through West Haven back through New Haven, and on 84 eastbound side, busy but moving through Danbury and Newtown. The Mitch Krause, WICC traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight, with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Tell Paul what he needs to know. Text 203-333-9422. It's Connecticut Today with Paul Pizzelli. WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
All right, one of our congressional representatives not very happy with what he has heard is a rumored deal between the U.S. and Ukraine for minerals. We'll get to his comments coming up in just a few minutes. First, though, let's look at this from the military point of view. Tactically, good deal, horrible deal, bad deal, maybe a good deal, depending. Joining us right now, a return visit from CBS News military analyst, the U.S. Army retired Colonel Jeff McCausland, to talk about this. Colonel, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Hope you are as well.
Well, we try, Colonel, here. So, listen, number one, how much do we know, Colonel? What's in this so-called agreement here, and it's being billed as, hey, if we get involved there, then the Russians won't attack. Give us your views on this.
Yeah, we know quite a bit. It appears this deal definitely has been signed and now is going into effect, signed by our Treasury Secretary and the Deputy Foreign Minister of Ukraine. If you will, it gives the United States preferred access to mine and process Ukrainian rare earth minerals, oil, and natural gas, and in many ways establishes the United States and Ukraine as economic, if not strategic partners. The Ukrainians had actually proposed this type of an agreement at the end of the Biden administration, but after the election determined they'd rather finalize it with the Trump administration for obvious reasons. One of the real focal points, thinking about the U.S. perspective, is access in future to so-called rare earth minerals. Think of things like lithium or think of titanium. And these are very important in national security affairs for high-performance aircraft, for ships, for microprocessors, for many sophisticated weapons. The F-35 fighter plane, for example, has 900 pounds of rare earth minerals in every F-35 that we deploy. And right now, China provides about 90% of the world's rare earth minerals. And recently, because of the ongoing trade war, they put significant restrictions on the exporting of those rare earth minerals. So on the one side, you could say this may be good for the United States. Estimates vary pretty broadly. Some people say Ukraine has between 1 and 14 trillion, which is a pretty wide number, worth of rare earth minerals. It's going to take some time to do the exploration and to determine where exactly those are in, very solid deposit that we can exploit. On the other hand, as you suggested, Paul, at the top, it doesn't provide Ukraine with the explicit security guarantees that they had wanted. It's more of implicit security guarantees. Washington has argued, well, with a very large, robust U.S. presence in Ukraine because of our economic cooperation, any aggressor, Russians in future, would have to factor into a future attack that they would then very likely be confronting the United States. That's implicit. That's not like having the 82nd Airborne base somewhere outside of Kyiv. Furthermore, for the Ukrainians, it does remove part of what had been insisted upon in the initial draft, and that is Mr. Trump had argued that Ukraine had to repay up to $350 billion for the military aid that the United States had provided. That's a lot more than I think we have, but that was the number he came up with. That's no longer in the agreement, and that would have exposed them as well to accusations or similar debt being raised by other partners who provide them assistance. And then finally, it sets a whole new tone. It talks about Russia as an aggressor. It talks about establishing a reconstruction fund jointly operated by the United States and Ukraine for reconstruction using these funds to do that. And also, finally, I think it suggests the United States may have a willingness, I would argue, to provide capabilities. Whether we provide any more military aid, think bullets or tanks, we do provide capabilities, Starlink, targeting, command and control, training, things like that, which in many cases Europeans don't have and couldn't provide even if they wanted to.
Finally, Colonel, I think here's the big question. Does Vladimir Putin care? I mean, it's I mean, it may be a great plan, as you know, and those sounded like some very interesting and good points, but is this enough to make him think twice now, or is this maybe going to infuriate him? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it changes the tone. Up until this point, it appeared that Mr. Trump was leaning, frankly, very heavily in the direction of the Russians, had made significant concessions. He'd already said Ukraine can't join NATO. He had already said Ukraine has to give up territory. He had already said he acknowledged Crimea as part of Russia, which was pretty startling. So we'd made major concessions. Putin hadn't made any as far as moving towards any kind of a ceasefire or negotiation. So I think it demonstrates at least some degree of frustration on the part of the Trump administration and a more balanced approach as we hopefully move ahead. There also have been rumors that the White House is considering large-scale expanded sanctions on the Russians if they don't move more quickly towards some kind of a negotiated settlement.
CBS News military analyst, retired U.S. Army Colonel Jeff McCausland. Colonel, thank you. We appreciate it. Take care.
Take care.
Appreciate it. There you go. All right, so there you go. Listen, now, you heard from a career military guy who said, hey, there is some, sounds like, right, folks? It sounded like he was like, oh, some of this stuff's interesting, right? Maybe puts Russia a little bit on the defensive here. The idea here is to, you know, put some American crews there, mining crews, maybe to deter Putin. Would it deter him? I don't know. I have no idea. Well, Chris Murphy has a different opinion on this. So we have given you the opinion of a seasoned, retired military veteran, served in the U.S. Army. And in just a few seconds, we will give you the opinion of one of the members of our congressional delegation from Connecticut.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
95 northbound over an hour from Greenwich to Bridgeport. A few breaks along the way through. Merritt Parkway northbound is at least slightly easier out of New Haven. 95 south jamming through Long Wharf into West Haven northbound. Plenty of company through West Haven back through New Haven. And on 84 eastbound side, busy but moving through Danbury and Newtown. Mitch Krause, WICC Traffic.
For this evening and overnight, clouding over with the showers arriving after midnight, a low near 50. Patchy fog early tomorrow. Cloudy with the scattered showers through the afternoon. Milder with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday early fog with more showers and a thunderstorm in a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Fiorek on WICC.
Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
Back to the news and talk. Thanks to Smart MLS. Smart sellers ask, is my home on Smart MLS? The voice of Connecticut. WICC's 695.9. It's Connecticut Today with Paul Pacelli.
All right, thanks once again to retired U.S. Army Colonel Jeff McCausland, CBS military analyst, who said, hey, you know, this thing, it's not perfect, but it may kind of reset stuff with the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So you have a seasoned, decorated military guy, a guy that's really good with tactical stuff, saying, all right, not bad. Oh, not so, says Chris Murphy.
It's nonsense. It just is. Most of the minerals that are available for exploitation in Ukraine are in the parts of Ukraine that are controlled by Russia. And so this agreement doesn't really mean much if Russia continues to own eastern Ukraine and continues to march towards Kyiv. And right now, all indications are that Donald Trump's policy is to hand Ukraine to Vladimir Putin. And in that case, this agreement isn't worth the paper that it's written on. Vladimir Putin isn't sitting down to negotiate for one simple reason, because Donald Trump is telling him, I am not going to continue to support Ukraine militarily, no matter what, whether you sit down at the table or if you don't sit down at the table. So Vladimir Putin looks at that and says, why would I negotiate? You're telling me you are giving up on Ukraine. So if I just continue to fight the war, I will ultimately own everything I have now, or potentially everything including Kyiv. have. So this agreement means nothing if the Trump policy is, as it is today, to hand over Ukraine to Vladimir Putin. That's the direction that we are heading in. And right now there is no sign that Vladimir Putin's giving up on the war, and no sign that we're ever getting any deal on minerals, because Vladimir Putin's going to be in charge.
All right, there you go. So Senator Murphy, not really impressed, I guess. Is this not being impressed?
It's nonsense.
Okay. Oh, man. It just, I don't know. Maybe Chris Murphy, he might be right.
It's nonsense.
Or maybe, Senator, you are.
It's nonsense.
I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. Seriously, folks, I don't know. We have a career military guy who's a military analyst for a major network, and then we have Chris Murphy.
It's nonsense.
All right, there you go. All right. 203-333-9422. Now, notice what Senator Murphy did there. What he did.
It's nonsense.
Stop.
It's nonsense.
Stop. Notice how he couched it in, it's nonsense unless you get Vladimir Putin to agree to A, B, and C. All right, I'll give him that. Yeah, so, again. But come on. What, and listen, I get it. Go get him, Chris Murphy. If you're as you know, as thoroughly convicted on this, go ahead. But come on, do you think any Democrat, even if they feel this, is going to come out and say, well, it's a pretty good move by Mr. Trump there, huh?
WICC Bridgeport, WFOX Southport, WEBE HD2 Westport, WPLR HD2 New Haven, locally owned by Connoisseur Media.
CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Cammie McCormick. There's been a big change in the president's cabinet. His national security advisor is out, as Linda Kenyon reports.
In a post on Truth Social, President Trump said, I am pleased to announce that I will be nominating Mike Waltz to be the next United States ambassador to the United Nations. The president said that Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve as interim national security advisor. Waltz was ousted from the Trump cabinet this morning, along with his deputy, in connection with the Signal chat where military plans were discussed. It wasn't until several hours later that the move over to the UN was released.
CBS's Ed O'Keefe on the many roles Rubio has now.
So he's Secretary of State. He's dissolving and merging USAID into the State Department. He's also the acting archivist of the United States because he had ousted the sitting archivist and has put Rubio in charge titularly. There's someone else running it day to day. And now he's going to serve as national security advisor. There is precedence for this. Henry Kissinger did it from 1973 to 1975 for Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford.
Iran says the next round of nuclear talks with the U.S. have been postponed due to what it calls logistical reasons. On May Day, there are protests around the country. In Los Angeles,
the Trump administration should be paving pathways to citizenship and honoring their sacrifices.
Judges and lawyers were also out in force, as CBS News correspondent Scott McFarland reports.
There are at courthouses and city halls across the country, from Los Angeles to Philadelphia to Houston, Seattle, Minneapolis, protests or rallies today outside of courthouses from lawyers. In some cases, retired judges taking their oaths again to show devotion to the U.S. Constitution.
There is evidence that some popular drugs for diabetes and obesity may help people with fatty liver disease. CBS News medical contributor Dr. Celine Gounder.
In a study in which 800 people were followed out to 72 weeks with treatment with semaglutide, they found that almost 2/3 of people had a reduction in liver inflammation related to this fatty liver condition, and over a third had a reduction in liver scarring.
It is the hottest May Day ever recorded in the UK. It was also the sunniest April since records began.
Of trying to block out the climate change, environmental side of it all, but the weather's great. It's hot. It feels like it's summer.
We deserve some summer as we've had such a cold winter, although it is earlier and it does make you worry about the environment.
It was a balmy 82 degrees in London. On Wall Street at the closing bell, the Dow is up 83 points. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com.
Hey, it's me, your liver. You know, the organ that helps you recover every weekend after pizza, donuts, and all those drinks. When you have a headache, you take an aspirin. You have a stomach ache, you pop an acid. But where's the love for your best buddy, the liver? The least that you could do to help me stay healthy is take Active Liver from New Nordic. Active Liver tablets contain high-quality, all-natural ingredients like milk thistle, globe artichoke, and turmeric extracts, which are proven to keep me healthy and you feeling your best. Active Liver provides an easy daily detox and helps protect me all year long. So let me make you an offer you can't refuse. You take care of me with Active Liver, and I keep taking care of you. Capiche?
See for yourself why Active Liver is Scandinavia's #1 liver health supplement. You can find Active Liver at CVS and online at Amazon or directly from NewNordicUSA.com. Again, find it in stores at CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
WICC 695.9, Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
State Republicans are asking for veto power over Connecticut state colleges and universities' salaries following the scandal surrounding Terrence Chang, the soon-to-be former CSCU chancellor. Chang is stepping down this coming July following his inappropriate use of state funds on personal expenses. Despite stepping down from his role as chancellor, Chang will retain an advisory position on the board, which includes his $400,000+ a year salary. In response to this, Brookfield Republican State Senate Minority Leader Steve Harding has introduced a measure that would give the state veto power for salaries exceeding $400,000. In a conversation with WTNH-TV News 8, Harding called the current situation unacceptable.
I believe that the taxpayer money is sacred. The tuition money is sacred. It should be used in an efficient and effective manner. And using it in the manner that Chancellor Chang did is unacceptable. And what the Board of Regents did is basically hand him a $440,000 a year salary on the taxpayer dime.
Governor Ned Lamont, however, has stood by his decision.
I mean, we stepped up. I think we've done the right thing. When it comes to Terrence Chang, he had a contract. We're going to finish off that contract, but we have new leadership for the CSU system, and I think that's the right thing to do.
And the Boston Globe's top 6 amusement parks in New England includes one in Connecticut. Lake Compounds Amusement and Water Park is located in Bristol. There are 3 New Hampshire parks on the list and 1 each in Maine and Massachusetts. I'm Chris Williams with WICC News.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
95 northbound over an hour from Greenwich to Bridgeport. A few breaks along the way through Merritt Parkway. Northbound is at least slightly easier out of New Haven. 95 south jamming through Long Wharf into West Haven northbound. Plenty of company through West Haven back through New Haven. And on 84 eastbound side, busy but moving through Danbury and Newtown. And that's Kraus, WICC traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
You're listening to Connecticut Today with Paul Pizzelli on WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
So like clockwork, yes, set your watches, your clocks by it. Coming up to 4:07 in 3, 2, 1. Mark, there you go. Like clockwork, Democrats are laughing at a Republican budget and connecting Donald Trump to it. Folks, I'm telling you, it's the gift that keeps on giving, the Connecticut Democratic Party. and I only say this because, I have friends of mine that come up and say, well, what are the Republican ideas on the budget? I said, well, they have ideas, but they get brushed aside in Hartford. Don't you know this is the way things work? Well, the Republicans never have ideas, Paul. Well, you're right, because the ideas never get a fair hearing. because the majority there, and I get it, they're the elected majority. I get it. I understand that. But don't think there aren't any other proposals there, but they get brushed aside like dandruff. And here comes the arrogance here. This story here in the Connecticut Post, Ken Dixon's story. House Republicans today, Thursday, proposed an alternative two-year budget that would, here's the non-starter, a wage freeze on tens of thousands of state employees and shift part of a controversial part of electric bills in an attempt to save residential customers up to $20 a month. So understand something now. One party in Hartford is determined to get rid of the public benefits charge. The other guys, they're still discussing it. So the minority party in Hartford says that public benefits charge has got to go. But yes, instead of discussing that, let's bring in Donald Trump. During a morning news conference with state representatives, House Minority Leader Vin Candelora, Republican North Branford, buddy of ours, says the proposal would counter months of Democratic hyperbole, fear-mongering, and gaslighting. But they talk about it as, you ready for this? Doge Light. So not only are we bringing Trump into the situation, we have to bring in Elon Musk. 203-333-9422, 333-WICC. Once again, 203-333-9422, 333-WICC. House Speaker Matt Ritter, House Majority Leader Jason Rojas teed off on the Republican budget, stressing it was Doge-like in its cuts to state employees and departments in a Connecticut version of sharp cuts ordered by the Trump White House, Department of Government Efficiency. So here's what I think. Now, you may disagree with me on this, but is a wage freeze for state employees all that bad for a couple of years? How many of us have gone a couple, 3, 4, 5 years without rate increases? Where is it set in stone? And again, with all due respect to you state employees out there, love you, but where is it set in stone that state employees get raises every contract? How is that fair? Because it's not. Because who pays for those raises? I'm not saying you shouldn't get raises. But heck, Governor Lamont the other day at that AFSCME meeting pretty much says you're going to keep getting raises. You're going to, oh, Governor, thank you. Thank you. The ATMs, the 3.5 million ATM people of Connecticut, thank you. And instead of discussing that, the Democratic majority in Hartford brings up Elon Musk and Donald Trump, because that's the depth of their critical thinking on these things. I'm sorry, but this happens every 2 years, and I got to say it. It's just mind-numbing. And again, you know how this works. In Connecticut, of course state employees are going to get raises every 2 years, because that's where the votes are. And I get it. I understand that. But here's an idea. Can we have an adult discussion on this without bringing Donald Trump into it and without bringing Elon Musk into it? Is that all they have? But you see now what the tactic is going to be for 2026. You've been warned. Everything, even how much the state spends on, every department. DOT budget, Donald Trump. The budget for the Department of Social Services, Donald Trump. They'll just weave it in. DOT road maintenance, Donald Trump. No new thinking. There's never any new and different thinking here. And nobody has, and I know state employees have given back in the past. I get it. I understand it. Not saying they haven't. And I know there are state employees that listen to this program. But should a wage freeze be rejected out of hand when a lot of people in the private sector go through wage freezes for 1, 2, 3, 5 years? Or am I off on this? 203-333-9422, 333-WICC. Can you still respect municipal and state employees, but at the same time saying, hey, maybe a couple of years, nothing here because, fiscally we have to catch up?
You've got your favorite websites that you check out each and every day. But if you want Southern Connecticut's news and information leader, set your browser to our news site, voiceofct.com. You'll be able to stream all of your favorite WICC local talk shows. Check out our podcasts, win contests, find out about local events, sign up for our email newsletter, and so much more. It's the best way to stay informed in Fairfield County. Just bookmark us, voiceofct.com.
Columbia Dental's Norwalk office is your go-to family dentist. They offer comprehensive care with general dentists and an oral surgeon. Conveniently located at 91 East Avenue, they're affiliated with the Columbia Implant Center in Manchester, operating 7 days a week, including holidays, to manage any dental emergency. With their in-house digital dental lab, they provide top-tier dental services, including prosthetics, ensuring all your needs are met. For more information, visit columbiadental.com and experience unparalleled dental care.
Spend a wonderful and delicious Mother's Day at Gusto Trattoria in Milford. The family at Gusto Trattoria invites your family to celebrate Mom with fresh, delicious salads, pastas, and modern and classic Italian dishes. Add a glass of Prosecco and buon appetito. Book your reservations now. Gusto Trattoria in Milford. Serving Mother's Day from noon to 8. Book your table. Enjoy Mother's Day at Gusto Trattoria. 255 Boston Post Road, Milford. The art of Italian living. GustoTrattoria.com.
Selling your home is a numbers game. The more potential buyers who see it, the greater the opportunity to sell. And when your home is listed on Smart MLS, more than 21,000 realtors see it, and so do all their buyers. Suddenly, the number of people looking at your home starts to grow by a lot. More realtors sharing your listing, more people seeing your home, more offers coming in, and maybe even more cash in your pocket. Smart move, right? Ask your realtor, is my house on Smart MLS? Smart MLS, the smart way to sell your home.
With Progressive Snapshot, you could save on auto insurance rates by driving safely, which is nice because you can just keep doing you. So keep on using that broken phone charger because it occasionally works. Keep quoting something you heard on a podcast as your own. Keep ignoring your sister's texts while you drive and after. And when baggage claim says, have a great trip, keep on saying, you too. And keep driving safely. And you could save with Snapshot from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
95 northbound up to 90 minutes from Greenwich to Bridgeport right now. The lower Merritt might save you a few minutes, but it ain't great. Out of New Haven, 95 south jamming through Long Wharf into West Haven. And you have on the Wilbur Cross northbound an accident in Meriden at the 91 merge, and 84 eastbound crash at exit 18. Traffic report is powered by Courtesy Carpet Flooring Design Center. Now's the time for a fresh new look at your home. Save on top flooring brands at Courtesy Carpet. No big box gimmicks, just fair, honest prices. Courtesy Carpet, Route 111 in Monroe. I'm Edge Krause with WICC traffic.
For this evening and overnight, clouding over with the showers arriving after midnight, a low near 50. Patchy fog early tomorrow, cloudy with the scattered showers through the afternoon, mild with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, early fog with more showers and a thunderstorm in a high and low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Where Southern Connecticut comes for the real story. Connecticut Today with Paul Pacelli on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
All right, 203-333-9422, 333 WICC. Republicans unveil their budget plan in Hartford today, asking state employees to take a 2-year wage freeze. Not a cut. Not a cut, but just for 2 years, and then down the road, the state will be in better fiscal health. Now, I don't think that's such a bad idea. I'm not telling people how to spend their money, but is it that crazy? And yes, I love the fine employees of the state of Connecticut, 46,000 of them. But, a lot of private sector people don't automatically get raises every contract. And again, when raises are given out, guess who pays? It's the taxpayer. That's why Franklin Roosevelt, believe it or not, the great FDR, the great Mr. Roosevelt, not a fan of municipal or state-level unions, did not like them, said because the people have no recourse. A lot. I'm kind of paraphrasing there. Now, what also has happened, and this also happens every couple of years when the Republicans try and put a budget together that should at least have some sort of discussion. You get the arrogance from the Democrats in Hartford who, and what they use, this is their tact, and I found it again here. It's a stock line they use when the Democratic majority in Hartford doesn't at least want to discuss things. And listen, from a political point of view with their base on the left, I understand why they do it. Here is a quote from Matt Ritter, the state house speaker, who's always bloviating about something. Okay, fine, I get it. He said of that. Well, first you get in his response to this, you get the allusion to Elon Musk and Donald Trump. It's like a mini Doge, right? That was the goal, it seems, Ritter says. Now, here's the arrogance. You don't get it from the governor so much, but you get it from Martin Looney. You get it from Matt Ritter. You get it from Bob Duff. You get it from Jason Rojas. Get this quote. And boy, can you be any more pedantic than this? Quote, I always hope for something that's serious because it then creates the ability for negotiations. It's not the most serious document I've ever seen. We'll probably have to write this one off and move on. This is doji. It's what it is. It's a doji budget. They know we're not going to engage in that. Quote. Okay. So, folks, I don't know what to tell you. This is the unbridled arrogance that you find at the state capitol. When you have, albeit smaller numbers of Republicans who may want to also represent the 45, 46, 44% of Connecticut who may not side with the majority. But when the majority in Hartford, Bob Duff, Martin Looney, Matt Ritter, Jason Rojas, when they don't want to be bothered with at least sitting down across the aisle and say, hey, let's look at some of these proposals, they use that same phrase or some variation of it every 2 or 4 years. It's not serious. Martin Looney, he's another one. He does that. Well, and he'll sit there, if our Republican friends would do something serious, well, no, you won't. Stop it. Bob Duff, Martin Looney, Matt Ritter, Jason Rojas, no, you're not going to consider anything, which I get it. Those are the trappings of the majority. I understand it. But at least come out and say, well, you know what? We don't like this budget. We're not going to consider it. But don't try and couch it and say, because here's what they do. The arrogance is, you understand how this works. The arrogance is, well, we would love to talk about things if they're serious. So, look, we're really nice people. But if something is not serious, then why should we talk about it? And folks, if you don't believe me, do a search online. Put in the terms Republican budget and serious and see the hits you get. So it's the same thing. And again, I get it. They're in the majority. But I have people all the time on this show or, friends of mine. Well, if the Republicans have better ideas, why don't we hear about them? Well, there's a reason you don't hear about them, because the majority makes sure you don't hear about them. Because God forbid the GOP puts something together that says, hey, not bad. And again, let me please remind you while I'm on my rant here, if you don't mind. The only reason we have these spending guardrails and what you hear the phrase, the guardrails, about what we can spend, what we can't spend, rainy day fund. You know which party was responsible for that? When you were smart enough out there to split the state Senate down the middle at 1818, it wasn't the Democrats. It was the Republican Party. Because the General Assembly was split 1818 back in 2017. And a couple of Democrats, the more fiscally conservative ones, came over to the GOP side and said, listen, our financial house is a freaking mess. We've got to fix that. So thanks to the Republican Party of the state of Connecticut, we're paying off more of our debt than ever before. We're eliminating interest fees better than we have been. There's still a long way to go. But if you think that this newfound kind of fiscal discipline had anything to do with the majority party in Hartford, if you think Matt Ritter or Bob Duff or Martin Looney or anybody like that had anything to do with straightening out the financial house, they didn't. It's wrong. So again, Matt Ritter said, quote, I always hope for something that's serious because then it creates the ability for negotiations. It's not the most serious document I've ever seen. We'll have to write this one off. See, this is why. And I know everybody in Hartford gets along. They're all friends on both sides. I couldn't. I couldn't. I couldn't. If I spent hours and hours putting together a budget document, even if it's not uber detailed, and somebody in the same chamber I'm in says, well, it's not serious? Really? I don't know. Well, again, I know a lot. Trust me, I've been told. A lot of people bite I've heard opinions on certain lawmakers, from certain lawmakers, that will not reach these airwaves. I can just tell you. There's a lot of lip biting and counting to 10 up there as well. Traffic and weather together right here, WICC.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
95 northbound up to 90 minutes from Greenwich to Bridgeport right now. The lower Merritt might save you a few minutes, but it ain't great. Out of New Haven, 95 south jamming through Long Wharf into West Haven. And you have on the Wilbur Cross northbound an accident in Meriden at the 91 merge, and 84 eastbound crash at exit 18. Traffic report is powered by Courtesy Carpet Flooring Design Center. Now's the time for a fresh new look at your home. Save on top flooring brands at Courtesy Carpet. No big box gimmicks, just fair, honest prices. Courtesy Carpet, Route 111 in Monroe. I'm Edge Krause with WICC Traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Fiorek on WICC.
You're listening to WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut, broadcasting from Cadillac of Greenwich Studios, CadillacofGreenwich.com.
This is the Duchess Restaurant Concert Guide. Duchess Restaurants. Fresh food served fast.
This week's concert listing includes Friday, May 2nd, Kane Brown with Scotty McCreery at Mohegan Sun Arena with a second show on Saturday night. Also, Friday, May 2nd, Ramon Ayala at Webster Bank Arena in Bridgeport.
Also on Friday, The Concert, a tribute to ABBA at Toyota Presents the Oakdale Theater. On May 3rd, it's night 2 of Kane Brown with Scotty McCreery at Mohegan Sun Arena. Also Saturday, May 3rd, Lori Morgan takes the stage at Great Cedar Showroom at Foxwoods. Also on Saturday, singer-songwriter Larry Fleet at Toad's Place in New Haven, and Mike Dale Judas at the Palace Theater in Stamford.
The Duchess Restaurant Concert Guide. Whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, get fresh food served fast at any one of our 12 Duchess restaurants located throughout Connecticut. Duchess Restaurants. Fresh food served fast.
Orangutans. They're beautiful, playful, and majestic, and disappearing. Every day, as many as 20 orangutans vanish. They starve to death when their homes are destroyed or are killed when they stray into villages in search of food. International Animal Rescue is fighting for the survival of the critically endangered orangutan. But we can't do it without you. Please visit internationalanimalrescue.org and help us save orangutans before it's too late. That's internationalanimalrescue.org.
This is WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
CBS News special report. There's been a shakeup at the White House. One of the president's top advisors is moving on.
Mike Waltz is out as National Security Advisor and will be nominated to serve as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. That requires Senate confirmation, but the White House seems to think he'll be able to get through, given that Republicans control.
CBS's Ed O'Keefe.
This administration has signaled from the start that they didn't necessarily consider the United Nations a serious organization or a job that they had to worry that much about. So it's a landing spot for Waltz. But it is, in essence, being put out to pasture because this, at least so far, is not seen as a priority for this president, who's at the UN.
President Trump is naming Secretary of State Marco Rubio to be interim national security advisor, political analyst Larry Sabato.
There aren't but so many people at the table helping a president make a major decision having to do with war and peace. So, yes, every voice really matters.
CBS News special report. I'm Cammie McCormick.
WICC 695.9, Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
The Bridgeport man who strangled his cellmate at the Bridgeport Correctional Center last year has taken a plea deal from prosecutors. 36-year-old Cecil Mills strangled 43-year-old Stephen Bailey while he was awaiting trial on a robbery and sexual assault charge in May of 2024. The plea deal calls for Mills to serve 40 years in prison to be followed by 10 years of special parole. According to a post in Hearst Media, the arrest warrant affidavit states that at 5:43 a.m. on May 26th, a correctional officer was finishing the breakfast procedure in the jail's housing unit when Mills refused to go back into his cell. Mills stated, "I killed my cellie," the affidavit states, meaning his cellmate. A convicted felon wanted in multiple states was arrested in Bridgeport after he allegedly kidnapped a woman. Police say Nicholas Allwood chased a woman from a home on Gregory Street with a knife yesterday as officers were preparing to enter and arrest him. The woman was not injured, and police say Allwood was living in Bridgeport under an alias to avoid capture. Among the out-of-state warrants were ones for attempted murder in New York. A Bridgeport City Councilwoman who is charged criminally in a ballot fraud case has resigned from office. Jazz Marie Melendez was arrested in February on charges accusing her of misusing absentee ballots. Melendez says she's resigning because she can accomplish more as an unelected activist. She is the sister of Jason Negron, a 15-year-old who was shot and killed by Bridgeport police in 2017. Melendez became a community activist after her brother's death. There is a public hearing tonight in Bridgeport to fight for more city dollars to be invested in Bridgeport schools. Earlier this week, the Board of Education voted to eliminate 20 teacher positions, dozens of paraprofessional positions, all district librarian positions, a popular art program, and bus transportation for around 2,400 students to help close a $30 million budget deficit. Board members want to reverse that decision if more money from the city council goes to education. Bridgeport Board of Education Vice Chair Joseph Sokolovic says that education in Bridgeport has been consistently undervalued.
The governance of Bridgeport has not valued education on the same level as they value for public safety, per se. Public safety is getting a $4.1 million increase, opposed to the Bridgeport Public Schools increase of $3 million, a much smaller department. The city of Bridgeport rather spend money on bullets than books.
The hearing is taking place at 6 p.m. at Bridgeport City Hall on Lyon Terrace. Middletown Mayor Ben Florsheim says federal immigration officers have identified the man arrested outside the courthouse in the city this week. An unmarked black SUV pulled up outside the Court Street building on Tuesday and arrested 23-year-old Kenneth Ramirez Munoz. He had just arrived at the courthouse for sentencing in connection with an incident in Clinton last year. A court clerk confirms that Ramirez Munoz did not show up for his sentencing hearing. The Office of the Inspector General announced today the use of deadly force by a West Haven police officer in early December 2023 was justified. Officer Alex Triscritti shot and killed 33-year-old Jovan Washington when Washington reached under a mattress, pulled out a gun, and shot another officer in the leg. It happened in an apartment on Terrace Avenue when police responded to a domestic complaint. The injured officer recovered. An 18-year-old man and 2 juveniles have been arrested for allegedly shooting paintballs at people from a vehicle in Norwalk. Police say 18-year-old Mason Rena and the 2 minors fired shots at 2 people early yesterday morning, hitting one of them in the leg. The 3 suspects are charged with 2 counts of breach of peace, along with criminal mischief. The victim who was struck was hit in the leg and was not seriously injured. A man is hospitalized after being stabbed multiple times in Bridgeport. The stabbing happened at around 10 a.m. yesterday behind a business on Iranistan Avenue. Police say the investigation into the stabbing is active and they are seeking to identify the responsible suspect or suspects. A new piece of legislation concerning gun ownership has advanced through the General Assembly. House Bill 7042 will make it possible for victims of gun violence to bring lawsuits against retailers or even gun makers who sell their products to someone who uses it to commit a crime. Republicans believe that this action is an overreach by state government. Wolcott Republican State Senator Rob Sampson told WTNH-TV News 8 that the bill was unprecedented.
I mean, this particular bill is doing something that's never been done before, which is to say that now we're going to hold the manufacturer of a product responsible for what happens when someone purchases it and uses it in an unlawful way.
However, state Democrats believe that this is a much-needed step towards accountability for gun manufacturers.
Keeping somebody liable and accountable for their actions is what we do in private business, is what we do in our personal lives. We should do that with guns as well. I think everybody would think that that's common sense.
The bill was passed by the House and will now move to the Senate. And there were unanimous bipartisan votes in the state House of Representatives and the state Senate to pass legislation that would bring new benefits to firefighters, veterans, and military families. The Senate bill expands coverage under the state's Firefighter Cancer Relief Fund to include skin cancers. The House bill includes a wide-ranging measure to expand benefits for veterans, service members, and their families. Both bills are expected to maintain strong bipartisan support and eventually head to the governor's desk for his signature. I'm Chris Williams with WICC News.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Bridgeport 825 connector southbound multi-car crash at exit 1. That's over in the shoulder. Everybody is slowing down for a look. 95 northbound up to 90 minutes from Greenwich to Bridgeport. The Parkway really isn't much help right now out of New Haven. 91 southbound jamming from exit 6 down through the merge and through Long Wharf. And on the other side of the bridge, you have plenty of company through Guilford and Brentford. Wilbur Cross is only slightly better. 84 eastbound, heavy congestion through Danbury. And further eastbound, a crash at exit 18 has things backing up into Southbury now. Mitch Krause with WICC Traffic.
For this evening and overnight, clouding over with the showers arriving after midnight, a low near 50. Patchy fog early tomorrow. Cloudy with the scattered showers through the afternoon. Milder with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, early fog with more showers and a thunderstorm in a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Fiorek on WICC.
He's here to make the merit traffic just fly by. It's Connecticut Today with Paul Pacelli on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
So just when you think Trump derangement syndrome couldn't get worse, I had a friend of mine send me this in my email. Said, hey, did you see this or hear this? Now, this is not AI. I already checked that. And believe me, I check this stuff like crazy now because some of the AI stuff is freaking frightening. It's so close. You see these goof press conferences they do with coaches now. Frightening. I think some of them should sue, but that's a different story. Now, again, words mean things, especially when you're an elected official of the state of Connecticut. Whether you're the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, the state treasurer, the state comptroller, the secretary of the state, whatever. You really should pick your words carefully. I don't want to squash anybody's freedom of speech here. Don't get me wrong. Because sometimes people say stuff and I'm like, okay, you can say that, but I think you're nuts. Now, earlier I gave you this from our esteemed Attorney General William Tong, who was inferring that Avelo Airlines basically is an arm of ICE. And we ran a 3-minute interview he did with Rachel Maddow the other day that had a certain theme that I picked up immediately after listening to
an airline that operates ICE Air for a company, again, that's running ICE Air. And is ICE Air, is Avelo part of those deportations and part of those flights? Well, we're having trouble with our business, and the only way we can survive is by running ICE Air.
Okay, so look, I'm not an attorney. I know a lot of lawyers. I follow legal news. I tap into friends of mine, whatever, who are lawyers, whatever. Is that close to slander, libel? I mean, I don't know. I'll leave that up to the attorneys out there. But then somebody sends this and says basically, oh, by the way, on William Tong, they pointed this out on Tuesday's news conference. Remember the governor and everybody that got together? We ran some clips of the governor here and some clips of Mr. Tong. Okay, fine. Well, they spoke for umpteen minutes. I didn't have time to watch it front and back. So this is, with all due respect, this is the lead attorney for the state of Connecticut, representing Democrats and Republicans, big cities, small towns. I ask you this, and I'm going to play this for you a couple of times. You tell me at 203-333-9422, 333-WICC. And I don't know, because I'm not an attorney here. I don't play one on television. I'm not that much of a linguist, but does Mr. Tong, in his official capacity, compensated by taxpayers here, is he comparing Donald Trump to 9/11? It's a serious question. You tell me.
All of us here lived through 9/11, the Great Recession, the financial crisis of 08, 09, but the scale of the devastation and the destruction in just 100 days is unprecedented for all of us. He is destroying people's lives, not just in America, but here in Connecticut. It's been devastating for our state, for people, for families, for real people, for neighbors, for friends, for our communities, for our towns and our cities.
What is he talking about? I'll play this. Seriously, help me out here. 2-0. Is he trying to be? I understand what speakers do when they do this stuff. Oh, we lived through this. We remember when JFK was killed. We remember watching as little kids in our feety pajamas watching Neil Armstrong's, cloudy first steps on the moon. But is 203-333-9422, 333-WICC. Is is the attorney, not just some loudmouth host like me, not some editorial opinion writer, not some guy who's half crocked with a bottle of Chivas on the park bench. Is the sitting attorney general of the great sovereign state of Connecticut comparing the sitting president of the United States to something like 9/11? Really?
All of us here lived through 9/11, the Great Recession, the financial crisis of 08, 09, but the scale of the devastation and the destruction in just 100 days is unprecedented for all of us. He is destroying people's lives, not just in America, but here in Connecticut. It's been devastating for our state, for people, for families, for real people, for neighbors, for friends, for our communities, for our towns and our cities.
There are very few times doing this that I am speechless. To hear an elected official say that, count this as one of those times.
When you want the top Connecticut headlines when you wake up, you know to come to one place. That's Melissa in the Morning. Live interviews with local leaders and breaking news. You've got it on Melissa in the Morning. Plus, traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Melissa in the Morning is everything you need on your ride into work. Melissa Sheketoff, every weekday from 5 to 10 on Melissa in the Morning on the Voice of Connecticut, WICC 600 and 95.9.
Discover the finest flooring in Southern Connecticut at Courtesy Carpet. With over 50 years experience, we've got your flooring needs covered. From intricate area rugs, durable vinyl and laminate to elegant stair runners. Shop anywhere, but make sure to see us before you buy. Visit courtesycarpet.com to explore our extensive selection. Visit Ellen, Jay, and the team at Courtesy Carpet, Route 111 in Monroe. Trust us, the experts in quality flooring. Because at Courtesy Carpet, your satisfaction is our courtesy.
Introducing Cakes by Sonia, a scratch-made bakery in Stratford. Let owner and head baker Sonia turn your vision into a delicious, beautiful custom cake. Specializing in wedding, birthday, and anniversary cakes, a Cake by Sonia is like no other. Follow Cakes by Sonia on Instagram or come into the bakery at 2067 Barnum Ave in Stratford. For an amazing cake for your next event, it's Cakes by Sonia. 203-276-8880.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text ALL to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text ALL to 321-321. That's ALL to 321-321.
It's time for the Market Scoreboard Report with Ron and Sana. Now on WICC 695.9, the Voice of Connecticut.
Stocks closed higher but off the highs of the session today as Microsoft and Meta delivered better than expected quarterly profits after the close yesterday and powered the NASDAQ today. The Dow was up as much as 300 points but finished with an 83-point gain to 40,752. The S&P up 35 points off the highs at 5604. The NASDAQ, though, up 1.5% or 264 points to 17,710. Now, after the close, Amazon delivered its results better than expected but light guidance for the second quarter given that how tariffs may affect the company. Amazon's down about 2.5% in after-hours action. Long-term bond yields dipped on some weaker than expected economic data this morning, but then jumped back up to 4.21% by the end of the session. Dollar firmed up. Oil moving higher by 79 cents to $59 a barrel after President Trump warned other countries not to do any oil business with Iran. Gold tumbled $78 to $32.40 the ounce as we wait for tomorrow's unemployment report, which could be conceivably a market-moving number.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Bridgeport 825 connector southbound multi-car crash at exit 1. That's over in the shoulder. Everybody is slowing down for a look. 95 northbound up to 90 minutes from Greenwich to Bridgeport. The Parkway really isn't much help right now out of New Haven. 91 southbound jamming from exit 6 down through the merge and through Long Wharf. And on the other side of the bridge, you have plenty of company through Guilford and Brantford. Wilbur Cross is only slightly better. 84 eastbound, heavy congestion through Danbury. And further eastbound, a crash at exit 18 has things backing up into Southbury now. Mitch Krause with WICC Traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Just a man who has a lot of thoughts. Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli is back on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
All right, get back to open phones momentarily. 203-333-9422, 333-WICC, including a controversial line or two there from our Attorney General. Speaking of the lawyers, though, and all things legal, Mike O'Neill joins us, VP and analyst lawyer at the Landmark Legal Foundation. Mike, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm great, Paul. Good afternoon to you as well.
When do you get a breath, Mike? Because not a day goes by where
Right.
you guys and gals must be running around the office going, oh, here's a ruling on something. And today, Mike, we have a ruling on the use of the Alien Enemies Act. What's that about?
Right. So the Alien Enemies Act, this is a law that was passed back in the late 1700s. It's been on the books for a couple hundred years here, and it provides the authority to the president in the event of an enemy invasion or a predatory incursion to remove individuals who he deems who are contrary, who are adversarial to the United States. And Donald Trump has invoked the use of the Alien Enemies Act. Again, this is a couple hundred years old statute. It hasn't been used consistently, but it's used sporadically through our history. And he invoked it to use for the identification and removal of individuals, members of the Tren de Aragua narco gang.
Yeah.
And I've always phrased this in terms of this isn't a criminal action. This is a military action. These are individuals who engage in a predatory engagement, have been deployed via the Maduro regime in Venezuela and are engaging in pretty horrible things. And we're not talking a lot of people. I think at this point it's maybe several hundred. When you talk about terms of the regular deportation proceedings, this is a provision of law and an authority given to the president that's reserved really for the worst of the worst, these narco terrorists who engage in this.
So, again, another roadblock in this whole thing, which keep popping up, or is this more procedural than anything else?
No, this is substantive. This is actually
Really?
this is it's not unexpected. Honestly, it's not unexpected that you're going to get a district court that's going to rule that the president doesn't have the authority to do this under the he's working outside his authority. In other words, this court here with this finding, this was a substantive finding. This is a procedural. So this is actually going to be able to go up to the Fifth Circuit and then to the United States Supreme Court on a expedited basis on a merits level. So the court's going to actually be able to the Fifth Circuit, the appellate court, has jurisdiction over this particular district court, and then ultimately the Supreme Court, again on an expedited basis, are going to be able to rule whether Donald Trump's properly exercising his authority under the Alien Enemies Act. And of course, you had this judge who said he wasn't doing it. They got caught up in the predatory incursion. The judge here ruled that this wasn't there wasn't the necessary incursion. You hadn't met that invasion threshold. We weren't in a state of war, for example. And so we're going to wrestle with that terminology in the statute. This is a matter of statutory interpretation. There is also another outstanding question that can be wrestled with as well that'll probably get addressed, is the overall constitutionality of the law, is whether the president actually has this constitutional authority, whether he's denying due process rights or constitutional rights to some of these individuals by doing this. Again, I think that there's probably a fairly decent chance that this law that his authority is going to be upheld when it ultimately gets to the Supreme Court. I do believe that this is a question where the president has strong power under his Article 2 powers, because this is kind of his command, exercising his national security power. When you think of the constitutional powers the president has, that's really where he's operating at his strongest.
And Mike, finally, I want to get a question in here, and I've talked to some other legal experts who are all saying the same thing about this Mahmoud Khalil case, and now I guess his lawsuit, a federal judge, I think in New Jersey or something like that, said that the case can go along. But I've talked to legal scholars, actually, Mike, on both sides of the aisle who think, and we've talked about this before, they can't believe that this is being slowed down by a federal judge when he must know, and I think we discussed this with you too, that the immigration courts are different. They serve at the pleasure of the executive branch and the State Department here. So, you know, again, this again is, at least the people I've had on from major networks say, they don't get this. They don't understand it.
Yeah, and this is one of these instances, I think, where you've got a court putting its authority where it doesn't have any authority, trying to assert power where it doesn't have any kind of Article 3 authority to rule on this. If the statute conveys look, you have to look to the law, to what jurisdiction courts have. Yeah. And if it's a matter of revoking a visa, or if it's a matter of remaining in the United States, there's certain courts which have jurisdictional authority to do that. And when courts are operating outside their bounds to do that, then that's going to be problematic. And ultimately, I think those sorts of questions are going to get resolved out either at the circuit court level or at the appellate court level. These things take some time to work out. We're only 100. I know it seems like everything. It seems like Donald Trump's been president forever.
It seems like years and years, and it's only 100.
It's only 100 days. So in terms of actually the wheels of justice here, we're seeing a lot of things happening at a very accelerated pace.
Yeah.
And I do welcome the fact that we're having the opportunity to grapple with a lot of these questions and these issues. And again, the Alien Enemies, just to turn back really to the news of the day, the Alien Enemies Act, I certainly think it's going to be, it's good that this is going, that we finally have a substantive ruling. Obviously, it's not what I agree with. It's not what I would have ruled if I were this particular judge, but you have something that's subject to a merits appeal, not none of these procedural hurdles that we're talking about. And so we're going to actually be able to get a Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. And again, that's one of the more conservative circuits when you think in terms of circuit courts of appeals. And then SCOTUS, where I think there's probably a fairly, I'm gaming at, I always like to do this with
sure. Yeah.
I give it out. It's probably a little, maybe it's a 55, 45 for Trump, for the president under the Alien Enemies Act. Good arguments on both sides. We've gone around in my office particularly about the legalities and constitutionality of it. So maybe I'll handicap it at maybe a 50, 55, 45, one way or the other.
Okay, Mike, thanks. Mike O'Neill, VP of Legal Affairs, Landmark Legal Foundation. Go to landmarklegal.org. Mike, thanks. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, take care, Paul.
All right, there you go. We'll take a call momentarily. Traffic and weather together right now, right here, WICC.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Bridgeport 825 connector southbound multi-car crash at exit 1. That's over in the shoulder. Everybody is slowing down for a look. 95 northbound up to 90 minutes from Greenwich to Bridgeport. The Parkway really isn't much help right now out of New Haven. 91 southbound jamming from exit 6 down through the merge and through Long Wharf. And on the other side of the bridge, you have plenty of company through Guilford and Brantford. Wilbur Cross is only slightly better. 84 eastbound, heavy congestion through Danbury. And further eastbound, a crash at exit 18 has things backing up into Southbury now. Match Krause with WICC Traffic.
For this evening and overnight, clouding over with the showers arriving after midnight, a low near 50. Patchy fog early tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon, milder with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, early fog with more showers and a thunderstorm in the high and low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
If you feel like owning a home is out of reach, Rocket is here to give you back the keys because they believe everyone deserves a shot at the American dream. Own the dream. Visit rocket.com or call 800-4ROCKET. Again, that's rocket.com or call 800-4ROCKET.
Hi, I'm Lee Gainham, that garden guy from Gainham's Garden Center and Florist in Fairfield. Do you have questions about your garden? Tune into that garden guy Sunday mornings at 8 for an hour of lively talk about your favorite pastime. We'll have weekly do's and don'ts and gardening tips of the week for our specific area, and we'll take your phone calls so we can offer solutions to problems you may be having in your lawn and garden right now. Call in and talk with me, that garden guy, Sunday mornings at 8 on WICC 600 and 95.9.
Back to the news and talk, thanks to Smart MLS. Smart sellers ask, is my home on Smart MLS? The voice of Connecticut, WICC 695.9. It's Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli.
All right, thanks once again to our legal eagle, Mike O'Neill, VP of the Landmark Legal Foundation. Boy, if you're a lawyer in D.C., you talk about office pools here and coffee and 5-hour energy and Celsius and maybe booze too, but I'm kidding. I'm not inferring anybody's drinking. It's a joke. Jerry in Stratford's here. Jerry, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, we finally have something that I think all sides can agree on this immigration, an aspect of this immigration debate. Yeah. RFK Jr., in my opinion, is not a blowhard like Trump. He's a serious-minded man. So yesterday, when he said, we have ended HHS's role as the principal vector in this country for child sex trafficking. During the Biden administration, HHS became a collaborator in child trafficking for sex and for slavery, and we have ended that. We're very aggressively trying to find these 300,000 children that have gone missing. So if Democrats if Democrats say we only care about the migrants, well, these children that have been sex trafficked and sold into slavery, according to RFK Jr., are migrant children. So let's see William Tong and Governor Barney Fife and the rest of the gang go search everywhere within the state of Connecticut as well as our congressional representatives. Are any of these trafficked children in our state? What can we do to rescue them from this diabolical thing that RFK was talking about? Our federal government, according to RFK, was engaged in sex trafficking. I mean, I just can't wrap my head around that. I thought we prosecuted sex traffickers. We didn't have it as a federal policy underneath the past administration.
I think what he meant, and Jerry, I do have to run, I think what RFK meant there, but you're right, there may be still some culpability there, is that the question you have to ask is that did our relatively, and again, everything's relative, did our relatively lax procedures at the border have the effect that a lot of people said was to basically turn a blind eye to some of these human and sex traffickers?
WICC Bridgeport, WFOX Southport, WEBE HD2 Westport, WPLR HD2 New Haven, locally owned by Connoisseur Media.
CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Cammie McCormick. There's been a shakeup in President Trump's cabinet. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is out. Correspondent Ed O'Keefe.
The word came that he was being ousted, and as is tradition, or as usually happens, the president makes it official on his social media platform by announcing the ouster and announcing who the successor is, and in this case, it's the Secretary of State.
The president said he's nominating Waltz to be ambassador to the UN. A federal judge has barred the Trump administration from deporting alleged Venezuelan gang members using a wartime law. CBS's Scott McFarlane has more.
This is the latest in a series of courtroom losses for the Trump administration in its use of this 18th century emergency wartime power, Alien Enemies Act, to deport people, foreign nationals, without full due process. Several would-be deportees sued to stop their deportations in Texas, and a Brownsville, Texas judge ordered Those individuals can't be deported through the Alien Enemies Act and must be deported through traditional means.
We're learning more about what may have led to a deadly crash into an after-school camp in central Illinois. No decision has been made to charge the 44-year-old driver. Brendan Kelly is director of the Illinois State Police.
Some evidence has been developed indicating the possibility of a medical emergency leading up to the crash. However, the investigation of this information and other evidence has not yet concluded.
3 children and a teenager were killed when the car crashed through the building. Christopher Cruz has the latest on efforts to hire more air traffic controllers.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said the FAA will provide new opportunities for military-trained controllers to enter the civilian workforce and give financial incentives to graduates of the Air Traffic Control Academy.
We're going to give those new graduates a $5,000 bonus.
Duffy says the system is safe now, but with the shortage in the towers, current air traffic controllers are under a lot of stress, and many are required to work overtime. Christopher Cruz, CBS News, Washington.
Tariffs are weighing on the nation's corporations. General Motors pledged today to take additional steps to boost its U.S. supply chain after projecting a $4 to $5 billion hit to its earnings due to tariffs. Other corporations are being hard hit by Americans pulling back on their spending. Here's Jason Brooks.
McDonald's sustained its biggest sales decline since the COVID outbreak in 2020, with comparable sales dropping 3.6% in the first quarter compared to a year earlier. CEO Chris Kepczynski told McDonald's earnings call that middle-income consumer traffic fell nearly as much as lower-income consumer traffic, which was down double digits for the second straight quarter.
On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrials finished the day 83 points higher. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-230-2777. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-230-2777, 800-230-2777, or biglou.com.
WICC 695.9, Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
Stratford residents are asked to avoid the area of South Avenue as the Stratford Fire Department works a building fire at 1641 South Avenue, reported to be heavy fire showing from a home with a possible roof collapse. Again, that in the area of South Avenue in Stratford. A Bridgeport City Councilwoman who is charged criminally in a ballot fraud case has resigned from office. Jazz Marie Melendez was arrested in February on charges accusing her of misusing absentee ballots. Melendez says she's resigning because she can accomplish more as an unelected activist. She is the sister of Jason Negron, a 15-year-old who was shot and killed by Bridgeport police in 2017. Melendez became a community activist after her brother's death. A convicted felon wanted in multiple states was arrested in Bridgeport after he allegedly kidnapped a woman. Police say Nicholas Allwood chased a woman from a home on Gregory Street with a knife yesterday as officers were preparing to enter and arrest him. The woman was not injured, and police say Allwood was living in Bridgeport under an alias to avoid capture. Among the out-of-state warrants were ones for attempted murder in New York. A man is hospitalized after being stabbed multiple times in Bridgeport. The stabbing happened at around 10 a.m. yesterday behind a business on Iranistan Avenue. The victim's condition has not been updated. Police say the investigation into the stabbing is active, and they are seeking to identify the responsible suspect or suspects. And there were unanimous bipartisan votes in the State House of Representatives and the State Senate to pass legislation that would bring new benefits to firefighters, veterans, and military families. The Senate bill expands coverage under the state's Firefighter Cancer Relief Fund to include skin cancers. The House bill includes a wide-ranging measure to expand benefits for veterans, service members, and their families. Both bills are expected to maintain strong bipartisan support and eventually head to the governor's desk for his signature. I'm Chris Williams with WICC News.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Bridgeport 825 connector southbound multi-car crash at exit 1. That's over in the shoulder. Everybody is slowing down for a look. 95 northbound up to 90 minutes from Greenwich to Bridgeport. The Parkway really isn't much help right now out of New Haven. 91 southbound jamming from exit 6 down through the Merge and through Long Wharf. And on the other side of the bridge, you have plenty of company through Guilford and Brentford. Wilbur Cross is only slightly better. 84 eastbound, heavy congestion through Danbury, and further eastbound, a crash at exit 18 has things backing up into Southbury now. Mitch Krause with WICC Traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
You're listening to Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli on WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
And I guess the feigned outrage continues. Our big story today, you still have a lot of high-ranking Democrats all around the state pretty much apoplectic about what went down a couple of days ago, earlier this week, in one of Connecticut's great cities, the city of Middletown by the Aragoni Bridge, the beautiful Connecticut River there. Apparently, ICE showed up at the Middletown courthouse on Tuesday morning. Now, they didn't break into somebody's house. They didn't storm an apartment building. They didn't go to a church, a mosque, or a synagogue, or a nursery school, or an elementary school. They showed up in broad daylight, not trying to hide. They pulled up because they got a guy who apparently was going to be there for his sentencing on Tuesday morning, who I guess was involved, an illegal that was involved in a case that involved kidnapping from suburban New York all the way to and through Clinton at the Clinton outlets there. Guns used, whatever, hairy case from what I've been able to read here. So apparently the guy's case was adjudicated, and he was at the courthouse, I guess, because he had, as a lot of folks in Connecticut always whine about, where is due process? Well, the guy apparently had due process for this case. And also, the third leg of the triad here, I mean, you had it in broad daylight. You had a guy who went through due process, and the local police were not involved, which is what we always hear. All these sanctuary cities, and by the way, Middletown, upon looking at that, the previous mayor there, I think, according to the reporting I'm seeing, did designate Middletown a sanctuary city. Well, okay. And a lot of these, or welcoming cities, whatever they use, they don't want their police involved. Okay, the Middletown cops weren't involved. So no local police action. It was done in an orderly fashion in the cleansing sunshine of the day. No guns drawn, apparently, or no shots fired, whatever. And it was somebody who was, I guess, an undocumented migrant involved in a pretty serious crime. But yet there are calls for an investigation. They want to bring Richard Blumenthal in. They want to bring Chris Murphy in. Why? Which leads me again to, recap how we started the show today at 2 o'clock. I wonder if a lot of high-ranking Democrats in this state basically say what they say about immigration because they have to. I mean, other people when this happened, William Tong, the Attorney General, the governor, they had some disparaging things to say about ICE. Why are you people, as high-ranking people in this state that are supposed to represent everyone, why the denigration of ICE over and over and over and over again? Give it a rest. These are men and women who put their jobs and their lives on the line, going after, albeit not everybody is this way, some pretty bad people. And again, the question I've had flowing through the show today is this sincere? Or are people like the governor only doing this and the lieutenant governor only doing this and Mr. Tong doing this because they kind of know they have to? Do they know from a legal point of view these are bad people who should be taken out of the country? But they can't say that. And again, kudos to the Middletown Press for mentioning that for all the hemming and hawing and the bloviating about, oh my God, the world's going to end, there's no credible evidence of increased ICE deportations in Connecticut. There isn't. So why are we hearing that? Explain to me, Lucy. Why are we hearing this? You mean to tell me the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, the secretary of the state, all the Democratic members in the reported mass deportations from ICE? Well, if there isn't, why are our duly elected officials delving into language that denigrates them? I think you know why.
You wake up with WICC to start your day, and you keep us on in your car and while you're at work. But there's another place you'll find us, right in your email. Sign up for the WICC newsletter and be the first to know about all the local Fairfield County happenings. Best of all, it's free. The Voice of Connecticut is right in your inbox. Get signed up now at voiceofct.com.
Chances are this has happened to you. You're driving in the rain and then, yeah, you meant to get those wipers replaced, but it was another one of those things you just let go, and then it was too late. Planning for retirement is a lot like those wipers. If you don't plan ahead, well, this happens. David Gagnon has been helping people plan ahead for retirement for over 3 decades. He can help you with financial surprises that pop up, like taxes on your Social Security check, sky-high Medicare premiums, income that doesn't keep up with inflation, and of course, losing money in a market downturn. Call David today for a free consultation. 203-872-0009. That's 203-872-0009. And make sure your retirement works like this and not like this. Investment advisory services offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance, including annuities. Licensed in Connecticut.
Who sells Continental tires for less than Town Fair Tire? Nobody. Who has a better selection of Continental tires than Town Fair Tire? Nobody. And who gives you more free services for the life of those Continental tires? Nobody. Town Fair Tire has over 100 locations and over 600,000 tires in stock, all at the guaranteed lowest price. And that's why we say nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Name brands at discount prices. Town Fair Tire.
Perfectly designed, meticulously loaded with prizes. Its sleek design with so many opportunities to win make the Win Big scratch ticket the ticket. And with a top prize of $3 million, winning big may be the biggest understatement to date. Play the Win Big scratch ticket from the Connecticut Lottery today. Overall odds 1 in 3.00. Must be 18 or older. Problem gambling helpline, call 888-789-7777.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% 50% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now traffic.
95 northbound, an hour and 20 from Greenwich to Bridgeport. A few breaks along the way through. Parkway right now is only slightly better through New Haven. On 95 south, jamming through Long Wharf into West Haven. Route 8 northbound, you're on the brakes through Shelton heading up to the bridge. And 84 eastbound, heavy congestion through Danbury. And a crash remains at exit 18, has things backed up to Southbury. Traffic report is powered by Brown Roofing. Brown Roofing is Fairfield County's premier roofing replacement, repair, and gutter contractor. Contact Brown Roofing today at brownroofing600.com. Brown won't let you down. And that's Kraus, WICC traffic.
For this evening and overnight, clouding over with the showers arriving after midnight, a low near 50. Patchy fog early tomorrow. Cloudy with the scattered showers through the afternoon. Milder with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday early fog with more showers and a thunderstorm and a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Bjork on WICC.
As your day winds down, he's only just getting warmed up. You're listening to Connecticut Today with Paul Pacelli on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
Oof, lots of agita today. Oof. Get back to open phones momentarily, 203-333-9422. The blog is onlybridgeport.com. The guy is Lenny Grimaldi. Lenny, do you have any brioski hanging around there? I could use it today.
You need mountain ranges of brioski. You know why? Because there's no more politicians left in the world. They're all now, they've segued, they've morphed into being demagogues. That is it now, Uncle Paulie. That's it.
What's up, Lenny? How are you? Hey, boy, busy day. And let's start off with, again, more drama on the city council. What's up with that?
Yeah, so you had a resignation yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was Andrea Ocasio-Cortez. She's, I call her the AOC of Bridgeport.
Okay, we're talking about Jazz Marie Melendez.
Yes, I'm sorry, I apologize. Jazz Marie Melendez.
Yeah.
Young member of the city council. She's like 26, 27 years old. And she is probably best known for losing her brother,
Sure.
Jason, in a police-involved shooting 7 years ago.
I remember that, yep.
But as a council member, she's taken more of a low-key approach. And my sense is she felt like she wasn't being effective. She wasn't able to build coalitions, to work on the things that are most important to her, especially for, in the area of police accountability, which is a big deal for her. So she resigned. And, I think it did catch people by surprise, but, council members come and they go. And that's the way of the world in city politics. So she feels like perhaps she could take a higher profile position on certain issues that she cares about. I mean, she's very good at making arguments. That's why I call her the AOC of Bridgeport, because Jazz Marie Melendez, she's really strong at making arguments. I mean, she cannot stand public safety officials. She just has, what happened with her brother.
Sure.
I have this issue with certain things she says because we don't have this with personal responsibility anymore. But she's very good at making those kinds of arguments for people who care about, public safety issues. So, we'll see. My sense is she'll probably, take a higher profile position. I got to give her credit, though. I mean, she was one of the first ones to really scream and yell about the failure, the housing, abuse that went on at Sussex Village. Because that's for the audience, these were people without heat and hot water.
Sure, yeah.
Right? And she was representing them, and she did a really good job at representing, their interests, and it brought a lot of attention to it.
So who got a name or two, Lenny? You would be a guy that would know. Any idea who would replace her with her seat on the council or not?
Oh, yeah, familiar face. Her name is Samia Suleiman.
Yeah.
Tamia is well regarded by council members and city politicians, so she's gonna replace Jasmine Melendez in the city council. And it could come as early as Monday. So the way it works traditionally is the local district Democrats will make a recommendation of who should fill a vacancy, and the city council technically is the appointing authority. So she's going to go back on the city council representing the 138th district. That's really the Upper East Side of Bridgeport, that area above an area of the Beardsley Park area.
Okay. There's these arguments, Lenny Grimaldi, fascinate me. What is free speech? And there's an artist out there, I guess a musician, rapper, whatever, who is very angry about a killing in Bridgeport, a few weeks back. And now we have an argument, Lenny, do we not, of what is threatening speech versus free speech? What's that story about?
So I've written a couple of stories the last few days on this content creator, rapper, Joe Grits. That's his entertainment name, right? His given name is Joseph Thompson.
Okay.
He is a provocative social media activist and rapper. And he was recently arrested by city police for threats he made on Instagram, calling for the death of a police officer following the shooting death of his friend, Deshaun Best. You go back about a month or so ago. And he got on Instagram, and I'm trying to find exactly what he wrote, so I'm not paraphrasing.
No, that's all right.
So the arrest warrant affidavit posted a photo of the officer who chased down Deshaun Best, opened fire because he saw a weapon on him.
Yeah.
Right. And so according to the affidavit arrest warrant, Thompson writes, Joe Grits writes, somebody's got to die. Somebody should die with a badge on. And there was a face of the officer on there. And he said more inflammatory things that local law enforcement felt like, hey, we got to go and pinch this guy because he's really inciting the death of a police officer. So he's been arrested. He's been arraigned. This guy, Joe Grits, he's an entertaining guy. He doesn't hold back. He's on social media all the time, but he intends to represent himself. And his defense is going to be, I was exercising my right to free speech, speaking as an artist when he made the posting. So if you're gonna represent yourself, I think that's a real high burden to defeat, right? I mean, he should probably go get himself a lawyer. But
you would think.
You would think, and maybe some lawyer will step up in his behalf. He can get a public defender. I mean, I don't know what his finances are, but it's an interesting study, about, as you pointed out, free speech.
And is he, Lenny, so in other words, he's saying that he made these statements as an artist, quote unquote. So might that be his defense, saying, hey, I don't want anybody to die, really, but I was just using this as art expression. Is that what he's kind of trying to say here or not?
That's exactly what he's saying.
Oh.
I'm expressing myself as an artist. I really don't want anybody to die, but at the same time, he's on record saying over and over and over again that a police officer murdered his friend. All right, so he's not, he says one thing, but then he says, my friend was murdered, when we don't know all the information. So the initial information on this, right, according to the Inspector General's office, they said there was a gun at the scene.
Yeah.
And the police officer saw a weapon after repeatedly saying, stop, 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 tried to tase him. It didn't work. He saw a weapon. He pulled out his gun. And unfortunately, Deshaun Best died.
Yeah.
So we're waiting for the final report from the Attorney General's office to see what they come up with.
Finally, Lenny Grimaldi, last meeting I see tonight, in about the minute we have left for the budget process. Might there be more than just a single postman there, Lenny, tonight? How's the turnout been so far?
Right, in about a half an hour, there's going to be a public meeting, City Council chambers. This is the last chance for the public to squawk about the budget proposal. The big issue is education.
Yeah.
It's bleeding. It is a mess, right? They're like over $30 million in the hole. And, the city budget is at the mercy of the state because the state budget process is not complete yet.
Yeah.
But I'm going to guess at 6 o'clock, in about a half hour, there's probably going to be a lot of education advocates.
Oh, that's true.
Demanding more money for the schools. All right. So they're going to be appearing before the 7-member Budget and Appropriations Committee. They don't have a lot of room. I mean, they could probably. So Mayor Joe Ganim has added $3 million of local spending, city-side spending to the school system. They might be able to squeeze out maybe $500,000 more for it, but it's not going to be this huge money unless they're getting a signal from Hartford. Hey, you're all going to be fine. You're going to get what you want. But, making some phone calls today, it's still a work in progress. Special education side, that's 20% of the education budget. Yeah, there's going to be more money coming down for that. But there's other parts of the education budget they're still waiting on.
All right. Great stuff as always, folks. Check it out onlyinbridgeport.com. Lenny Grimaldi, the guest. Lenny, if if your old boss calls, tell him I said hi, okay? Will you do that for me?
Yeah, he's the guy who doesn't need Briosky. He gives the yeah.
All right, Lenny. Be good. There you go. What's Briosky? Traffic and weather together right here on WICC.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
95 northbound, an hour and 20 from Greenwich to Bridgeport. A few breaks along the way through. Parkway right now is only slightly better through New Haven. On 95 south, jamming through Long Wharf into West Haven. Route 8 northbound, you're on the brakes through Shelton, heading up to the bridge. And 84 eastbound, heavy congestion through Danbury. And a crash remains at exit 18, has things backed up to Southbury. Traffic report is powered by Brown Roofing. Brown Roofing is Fairfield County's premier roofing replacement, repair, and gutter contractor. Contact Brown Roofing today at brownroofing600.com. Brown won't let you down. And that's Kraus, WICC Traffic.
Clouding over this evening, showers arriving after midnight with a low near 50. Early fog tomorrow. Cloudy with scattered showers through the afternoon with a high in the mid-70s. Saturday, showers and a thunderstorm with a high in the low 70s. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Selling your home is a numbers game. The more potential buyers who see it, the greater the opportunity to sell. And when your home is listed on Smart MLS, more than 21,000 realtors see it, and so do all their buyers. Suddenly, the number of people looking at your home starts to grow by a lot. More realtors sharing your listing, more people seeing your home, more offers coming in, and maybe even more cash in your pocket. Smart move, right? Ask your realtor, is my house on Smart MLS? Smart MLS, the smart way to sell your home.
Experience the future of primary care right in the palm of your hand. With Hartford Healthcare's HHC 24/7 app, you'll get expert primary care anytime from the comfort of home. Connect with a virtual provider and concierge team who know your medical history. Use HHC 24/7 for acute illnesses to manage your medications, chronic conditions, specialty referrals, and more. All major insurance plans are accepted. Text HHC 247 to 85209 to download the app and never wait again for care with Hartford Healthcare.
Make a splash and change a life today with Splash for Wishes. Visit your local Splash Car Wash and show your support by donating to Make-A-Wish. Your contribution helps transform the lives of Wish kids. Become a wish maker and join in making dreams come true. Every donation counts. Visit online at ct.wish.org/Splash Car Wash or stop by a Splash Car Wash location near you. Show your support and make a difference at Splash Car Wash now through May 4th.
This is WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
CBS News Brief. A shakeup in President Trump's cabinet. Michael Waltz is out as National Security Advisor. CBS's Erica Brown.
Waltz came under fire in March when he inadvertently included a reporter in a group chat on the messaging app Signal, in which Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth discussed sensitive military details about a planned strike on Houthi rebels in Yemen.
Ed O'Keefe reports Trump says he's nominating Waltz to be ambassador to the UN.
He says Waltz has worked hard to put our nation's interests first, and I know he'll do the same in
his new role. In the interim, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is going to serve as National Security Advisor.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is praising a week-long operation that had ICE agents in the state to arrest illegal immigrants.
If this is approved, we will go off to the races, and we will be able to do really from soup to nuts, from apprehension to detention, even putting some of our people in the National Guard in line to serve as immigration judges.
CBS News Brief, I'm Cammie McCormick.
WICC 695.9, Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
Stratford residents are asked to avoid the area of South Avenue as the Stratford Fire Department works a building fire at 1641 South Avenue, reported to be heavy fire showing from a home with a possible roof collapse. Again, that in the area of South Avenue in Stratford. There is a public hearing tonight, just about 30 minutes from now, in Bridgeport to fight for more city dollars to be invested in Bridgeport schools. Earlier this week, the Board of Education voted to eliminate 20 teacher positions, dozens of paraprofessional positions, all district librarian positions, a popular art program, and bus transportation for around 2,400 students to help close a $30 million budget deficit. Board members want to reverse that decision if more money from the city council goes to education. Bridgeport Board of Education Vice Chair Joseph Sokolovic says that education in Bridgeport has been consistently undervalued.
The governance of Bridgeport has not valued education on the same level as they value for public safety, for say. Public safety is getting a $4.1 million increase, opposed to the Bridgeport Public Schools increase of $3 million, a much smaller department. The city of Bridgeport rather spend money on bullets than books.
The hearing is taking place at 6 p.m. at Bridgeport City Hall on Lyon Terrace. The Bridgeport man who strangled his cellmate at the Bridgeport Correctional Center last year has taken a plea deal from prosecutors. 36-year-old Cecil Mills strangled 43-year-old Stephen Bailey while he was awaiting trial on a robbery and sexual assault charge in May of 2024.